The manhwa begins by showing Song Ran, who had just woken up from a disturbing dream. In his dream, he saw a powerful boss monster that had brutally killed his comrades, taking the heart of one of his friends and devouring it. This nightmare was a recurring one for Song Ran, and even though the incident had happened 2 weeks ago, he could still vividly recall the horror of it. Despite the fact that the guild had not officially investigated the incident, rumors about the beast had spread among the hunters, making Song Ran famous for being the only survivor. But Song Ran's fame was not due to his success in surviving the incident. Instead, people began to regard him as a cursed healer, and many did not consider him a worthy partner, seeing him as a weak hunter who could only survive with the help of his team. Due to these rumors, Song Ran began to consider himself unworthy of being friends and believed that he deserved to be alone. With a feeling of dread, Song Ran opened his refrigerator to find that he was out of food. He knew he would have to go out and find something to eat. As he prepared to leave, he couldn't help but feel self-conscious about his appearance. As a child from a poor family, he didn't have many decent clothes to wear and didn't want to be recognized. He made his way to a convenience store in the city, trying to find something to eat. Inside the store, he overheard people talking about the recent massacre that had occurred in the normal level dungeon 2 weeks ago. They were discussing the only survivor of the incident, a healer, and saying that he had killed his entire team in order to take all the bounties from the dungeon. They also said that the healer was weak and could easily be killed. Hearing people talk about him and accuse him of something he didn't do, Song Ran felt a mix of anger and hurt. He remained silent and tried not to let their words affect him. He picked up a few groceries and went to the cashier to pay, but realized he didn't have enough money, so he could only afford 1 loaf. It had been weeks since Song Ran had stepped out of his house. He was feeling frustrated with his career as a hunter, as he couldn't find a team to make money with and didn't have any friends. He decided to go to a 1-person capacity dungeon to try his luck, even if it meant going alone. He arrived at the gate of a dungeon called the Novice Dungeon. The Novice Dungeon was specifically designed for novice hunters to improve their abilities. The difficulty level was almost non-existent, but at least it would provide Song Ran with some small payoffs to save him from starvation. As he walked in, he was recognized by 2 hunters who laughed at him for entering the dungeon alone. Song Ran pressed on and greeted by the system. Testing began. He met the conditions and the novice experience dungeon model was activated. He didn't know what to expect as he entered the dungeon, which was filled with a thick, bloody mist. He noticed that his sword was reacting to the mist in an unusual way. As Song Ran ventured deeper into the dungeon, his curiosity about what lay ahead grew. He had accepted a mission to eliminate 100 soil element monsters, but as he progressed, he quickly realized that this task would be far more difficult than he had anticipated. The blood mist that had shrouded the area began to dissipate, revealing the true nature of the monsters that lurked beneath the ground. They were numerous and large, with powerful attacks that made them a formidable foe. Song Ran was surprised that these monsters were not weak, as he had expected them to be in a beginner's dungeon. Nevertheless, he knew he had to complete his mission. He tried out his healer powers, testing the strength of his magic, but soon found that the monsters were too strong to be defeated with just his magic alone. With this realization, Song Ran decided to use his evolution sword. As he prepared for battle, one of the monsters charged towards him with a powerful punch. But Song Ran was quick to react, and with a swift slash of his sword, he easily defeated the monster. As he emerged victorious, Song Ran became aware of the extent of his own power. He felt stronger than ever before, and was ready to face the remaining monsters that lay ahead. With each encounter, he grew more confident in his abilities and knew that he would be able to complete his mission and emerge victorious from the dungeon. As Song Ran stepped into the dungeon, there was no time for him to even take a breath. Without hesitation, he activated a skill, boosting his healing abilities and increasing his strength and speed. He was ready for the battle ahead, knowing he would have to face countless monsters. With his newfound power, Song Ran easily defeated the stone monsters one by one. This was a significant upgrade from the strength he had after the massacre of his party hunter on Sunday, when he was considered the weakest, even to this day. But now, he had revolutionized into a very strong hunter. The more monsters Song Ran defeated, the higher his power level grew. And finally, he faced the last monster. With a swift jump and swift slash, the monster was defeated. Although it was just a novice mission, it was a small test that Song Ran had passed with flying colors. As he collected his prize, Song Ran looked exhausted. He had no idea that this mission would be so tiring for him. It turns out that the journey through the dungeon was not over yet. The system informed Song Ran of his next mission, to defeat 100 water monsters. Before starting the mission, he received a reward from his previous task, an Earth Essence crystal that he had never seen or heard of before. He didn't know what the crystal's purpose was, but he knew that it was a crystal produced from the power of the Earth. He was unsure of how it would work when combined with weapons, but he was eager to find out. With his new mission in mind, Songran set out, but was suddenly confronted with a dazzling light. To his surprise, the climate changed to a snowy one, with snow and water elements everywhere. Perhaps this was the continuation of his mission. From above the sky, giant ice cubes descended and hit the ground, and from under the blocks, snow monsters emerged. These monsters were not made of normal water element, but it seemed like they had been upgraded, different from the usual monsters he had encountered before. With determination, Songran charged towards the snow monster with his sword in hand. He swung his sword with precision and skill, but to his dismay, none of his attacks seemed to have any effect on the monster. He couldn't understand why his attacks weren't damaging the monster at all. As he closely observed the monster, he noticed that it had an incredibly fast regeneration ability, allowing it to recover from his attacks almost instantly, as if they had no effect on it at all. Songran realized that these ice elemental beasts not only had extremely strong defensive power like the previous rock monsters, but also had recovery abilities similar to the water element. Understanding the dire situation he was in, Songran began to feel hopeless, thinking that he would die there as his attacks couldn't even scratch the monster. Suddenly, the dungeon system alerted Songran that the conditions to perform the fusion of the Earth Essence Stone with his weapon had been fulfilled. Without hesitation, Songran infused the Earth Essence Stone with his Blade of Evolution. As soon as the fusion was complete, Songran's sword gained a unique skill. When attacking, the sword would now have a petrification effect, reducing the enemy's speed by 50% and preventing its regeneration for 3 seconds. Seeing the progress of his weapon, Songran finally felt hopeful about winning the battle. With renewed determination, Songran charged towards the nearby ice monsters. His attacks were successful, as the monster he struck began to turn to stone. He then swiftly decapitated the monster with his sword. Songran had finally found a way to defeat the monsters. He continued his attack, moving swiftly and jumping from one monster to the next, easily defeating them one by one until all the monsters had been defeated. Songran had defeated all of the monsters in the current system, except for one. But when he arrived at the location, he was surprised to find that the remaining monster was not there. Suddenly, the ice elements of the previously defeated monsters came together to form a new and more powerful enemy, the Snow Queen. The Snow Queen was an upgraded form of the ice golem monsters. As the battle began, Songran activated a healing skill to heal his wounds from the previous battle and recover himself. Once he was fully recovered, he was ready to face the Snow Queen. He moved forward to attack, but his attacks seemed to have no effect on the monster. The Snow Queen was extremely strong and resilient. The Snow Queen then cast its skill, raining sharp blocks of ice down from the sky. If Songran were hit, he would have been killed instantly. But Songran was able to dodge the ice blocks and find a gap to attack the monster. He was successful in hurting the Snow Queen, and the monster tried to counterattack, but Songran was able to avoid it. Songran then prepared to launch his next attacks. This time, he attacked the Snow Queen with sustained attacks, repeatedly striking the monster. After multiple attacks, Songran gained a new skill. He continued to fight the Snow Queen with all his might, determined to defeat this powerful enemy. During his battle with the Snow Queen monster, Songran acquired a new skill that had the potential to defeat the monster in one powerful strike. However, using this technique would come at a great cost that would sacrifice his current health state. If he used this technique until his health was depleted, he would surely die in the process. Despite this, Songran decided to use the technique, knowing that it was his only chance to defeat the Snow Queen. With all his might, Songran launched the deadly attack, cutting and destroying the Snow Queen's organs. But to his surprise, the monster was able to recover itself instantly. The Snow Queen counterattacked, sending Songran crashing into a wall. The monster kept attacking relentlessly, leaving Songran no chance to strike back. Songran kept dodging the monster's powerful attacks, carefully avoiding any direct collisions. He then jumped into the air, circled around and landed back on the ground, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. But the monster was not about to remain silent. It attacked Songran several times, and Songran also attacked back with his new skill. The battle was intense, and both sides were determined to emerge victorious. As Songran and his opponent clashed in battle, it was clear that neither of them were willing to back down. The monsters they were fighting were fierce, and the fight was intense. But Song Ran was determined to come out on top. He began to gather his strength and prepared to strike the monster with all his might. As the monster approached, Song Ran launched his attack. The two clashed in a fierce battle, but in the end, Song Ran emerged victorious. The monster was destroyed, and Song Ran was rewarded with an ice shard that emitted a cold aura. He quickly combined the shard with his sword, gaining a new skill, a regeneration skill. However, the skill was only 0.1% effective, which Song Ran considered to be extremely useless. Exiting the dungeon, Song Ran was greeted by a group of hunters who were also there. They were surprised to see him in such good condition, as many of them were injured from the novice dungeon. Song Ran, too, was confused by what had happened, as he surveyed the scene of wounded hunters. As Song Ran emerged from the dungeon, another hunter appeared, pleading for help as he was gravely injured. The scene was chaotic, with many hunters injured and confusion reigning. Even a dungeon investigation team had been called in to try and understand what was happening in the dungeons. Despite the chaos, Song Ran had managed to conquer another dangerous dungeon. He had proven himself as a skilled hunter, able to navigate the perils of the dungeon and come out victorious. But still, the question of what was happening in the dungeons lingered in his mind, as well as the other hunters. Song Ran approached the female hunter and asked what had transpired. The hunter recounted out a tale of strange events that had transpired while she and her companions were training in a novice dungeon. Suddenly, a plume of black smoke rose from the ground, accompanied by the appearance of an unusual and monstrous creature. To their surprise, the monster was far stronger than any they had encountered in their past training sessions. Despite putting up a fight, the hunters were badly wounded and only managed to escape the dungeon due to the time limit. If it weren't for that, they would have certainly met their end at the hands of the formidable beast. Song Ran pondered that the sudden change in the dungeon might have been caused by his recent entry. He resolved to exercise caution in the future, so as not to harm other hunters. At that moment, a group of hunters from the Huangtu Guild, tasked with resolving dungeon issues, arrived on the scene. They were the largest guild in Song Ran City, and their healers tended to the wounded hunters while others prepared to enter the dungeon. As Song Ran had no part in the dungeon's transformation, he decided to leave the area. However, he was stopped by two hunters who had previously mocked him upon his entry into the novice dungeon. They proceeded to bully and belittle Song Ran, who was without a team or partners to enter the dungeon. Despite their taunts, Song Ran chose to walk away, not wanting to cause trouble. This only served to anger the hunters, who felt snubbed by Song Ran's disregard. The lead hunter mockingly asked if Song Ran was hurrying to see his nanny, then deliberately provoked him by bringing up the death of Song Ran's caretaker. Infuriated by the woman's provocations, Song Ran unsheathed his sword and threatened her. He demanded that she retract her words, warning that he would not hesitate to kill her. The woman was shocked by Song Ran's speed, as healers were not typically known for their agility. At that moment, the leader of the Huangtu Guild, Huan, intervened and prevented Song Ran from attacking the female hunter, who was also a member of the guild. The guild leader sternly warned that any kind of fighting was strictly prohibited in the novice area. Realizing that the hunter was of diamond level, Song Ran chose to retreat rather than risk a confrontation. As he was about to leave, the guild leader approached him, challenging Song Ran to a one-on-one fight in the hunter arena. The female hunter was still fuming over being ignored and threatened earlier, and with a cold expression and a sharp gaze, Song Ran accepted the challenge and headed to the arena for the showdown. Song Ran and two other hunters arrived at the Hunter League arena where they could engage in battles between hunters. The arena offered two battle options, a friendly match or a match to the death, where the fight continues until one person dies. When they entered the arena, the two hunters looked down on Song Ran and mockingly commented on his nervous and scared demeanor. Song Ran remained silent, ignoring their taunts. The two hunters registered for the match and were asked to choose between friendly mode or death mode. The female hunter selected friendly mode to teach Song Ran, but to everyone's surprise, Song Ran requested to participate in a fight to the death. The arena manager was taken aback by Song Ran's request, and the female hunter questioned his willingness to give up his life. Song Ran then produced the necessary documentation for the fight to the death mode. Everyone who saw Song Ran was stunned, as they anticipated an exciting battle. Even the two hunters who had previously spoken were now left speechless and in disbelief, accusing Song Ran of having stolen the qualifications for a match to the death. Despite their accusations, Song Ran remained unfazed as he had all the necessary conditions for the match. The news of the upcoming battle quickly spread among the hunters, drawing a crowd to the arena. Song Ran, a healing-type hunter, was set to face off against Mei Li, a powerful assassin who had won 16 out of 18 fights and never lost in the arena. Despite the clear disparity in abilities, the audience was eager to witness this unequal yet intriguing battle. Just before the fight began, a female hunter named Tang Xiaobai received a call from her boss, instructing her to live-stream the game. The scene shifted back to the battle arena, where Song Ran and Mei Li were prepared to engage in combat. Mei Li was the first to make a move, approaching Song Ran with lightning speed. Despite being caught off guard, Song Ran remained calm and even smiled at Mei Li's technique. Mei Li then attempted a surprise attack from behind with the backstab move, but Song Ran easily dodged it. The audience was stunned that he was able to avoid the attack, considering its speed and the fact that it came from behind. Song Ran then taunted Mei Li, calling her speed slow like a snail. Enraged, Mei Li launched another attack on Song Ran, but to no avail. Despite Mei Li's confidence in her victory, Song Ran was able to withstand the attack effortlessly. He demonstrated his mastery over mana and his ability to keep control of the situation. Mei Li began to recognize Song Ran's formidable abilities and was shocked, suspecting that he must be hiding his true hunter rank, as there was no way a bronze-tier hunter could be this powerful. In an attempt to gain an advantage, Mei Li unleashed a blood fog move, a technique from her clan designed to limit the enemy's vision and unleash the full potential of the hunter. But to her surprise, Song Ran's fog style proved ineffective against her move. He then used the Petrify skill with his Blade of Evolution sword, spinning it wildly. Miraculously, the fog began to dissipate over the arena, and Song Ran was able to cancel Mei Li's blood fog style. To her surprise, he had been behind her the whole time. Song Ran's fast movements and attacks caught Mei Li off guard, and she was unable to dodge his attacks. She fell to the ground, injured. The audience, who had been watching the fight, were left stunned and speechless. They couldn't believe that a rumored cursed and weak healer-type hunter had defeated an assassin in the battle arena. Song Ran approached Mei Li, sword in hand, and pointed it at her throat. He was seen as a sadist by some, but Mei Li knew that he could have killed her if he had wanted to. He told her that if she had just walked away, there would have been no need for such a display of killing intent or insults. After his victory over the assassin, Song Ran gained a new skill. The Huang-Tu Guild hunters, who were watching the match, were taken aback by the outcome. They couldn't believe that their comrade, a renowned assassin, had been defeated by a novice healer-type hunter. The battle was being broadcast live in the city by Fei, and the residents were just as stunned as the hunters in the arena. They never expected to see a healer defeat a higher-ranking assassin. The excitement in the arena was palpable, with hunters shouting for Song Ran to finish off Mei Li. He asked her to beg for forgiveness, but she apologized and begged for mercy instead. This only made Song Ran angrier, as he felt she had insulted him. He demanded that she admit her mistake and declare herself to be shameless. Mei Li reluctantly complied, even though the live streaming cameras captured the whole scene. Back at the guild, the hunters discussed the implications of Song Ran's victory. They saw it as a sign that their guild could be restored to its former glory. After a triumphant victory in a fight, Song Ran emerged to find himself the new idol among the hunters. As he made his way home, he realized that the Huang-Tu Guild would soon take action in response to his win. Despite this, Song Ran did not regret his actions and only wanted to become stronger to face the inevitable battle ahead. Meanwhile, at the Huang-Tu Guild, the boss was torturing Mei Li, the hunter who lost to Song Ran, for the embarrassment and damage to the guild's reputation. Just as the boss was punishing Mei Li's life to be worth nothing compared to the guild's image, a man approached, offering to buy Mei Li as a hunter. Mei Li's friend became angry with the man's offer and attacked him, but the man remained calm. With a single shot, the mysterious man, later revealed to be Mr. Trader, effortlessly cut off and destroyed the arm of the male hunter who tried to attack him. Despite being seated, Mr. Trader's power was undeniable. The chairman of the Huang-Tu Guild apologized for the actions of his subordinates, and ultimately agreed to sell Mei Li to Mr. Trader. Even the chairman was wary of Mr. Trader's presence. Mr. Trader took Mei Li and disappeared without a trace. The Huang-Tu Guild boss was left to question why Mei Li was chosen and why Mr. Trader was there. The chairman ordered for the injured hunter to be taken to the hospital. Mr. Trader was known in the underworld as a human trafficker and trader, with a reputation for massacre if anyone dared refuse his offers. The true identity of Mr. Trader remained unknown. The cruel Mr. Trader demanded that the boss of the Huang-Tu Guild hand over Mei Li to avoid disastrous consequences. This resulted in the loss of two of the Huang-Tu Guild's main hunters. Song Ran, who is causing problems for the Huang-Tu Guild, has been deemed by the boss as someone who must die. Under a stormy sky, Mr. Trader carried Lu Mei to an unknown location. He used the transformation stone on her, which left him in awe of its effects. Meanwhile, Song Ran underwent a transformation of his own, cutting his hair to leave behind his past as a weakling. Suddenly, he was presented with a strange stone that appeared before him. As if watched by Mr. Trader, Song Ran's fate took a dramatic turn. A few days later, Song Ran visited the Hunter Association to check his strength levels. Unfortunately, despite many people's efforts, he showed no signs of awakening his powers. In order to awaken his abilities, he was advised to absorb an expensive awakening stone, which could only be found in the troll mine. However, to venture to the mine, he would need to form a team. Feeling overwhelmed, Song Ran was concerned about the possibility of changing the dungeon's evolution and putting others in danger. Just as he was lost in thought, he was approached by Xiao Bai, who had live-streamed Song Ran's battle against Hunter Meili, and was the source of his recent fame in the hunter world. Xiao Bai offered to accompany Song Ran to the troll mine. They chatted while surrounded by other hunters and members of the hunter department office. Song Ran was swarmed by admirers who wanted to take photos with him. Feeling overwhelmed, he grabbed Xiao Bai and quickly left the scene. In the bathroom, Song Ran expressed his desire to maintain his identity as an ordinary person and warned Xiao Bai that her actions had made him a target of the Huang Tu Guild. Song Ran then discussed the invitation to join Xiao Bai's party. He put forth two conditions. All the awakening stones found in the dungeon would belong to him, and the two of them would go alone without any other companions. Despite the danger of entering the dungeon with only two people, Song Ran stood firm in his decision. If Xiao Bai couldn't comply, Song Ran would cancel their plans altogether. However, due to orders from her guild manager, Xiao Bai had no choice but to accept Song Ran's conditions. Despite her reservations about the danger of going to the dungeon with only two people, she agreed to accompany Song Ran. In a nutshell, Song Ran and Xiao Bai arrived at the entrance of the troll mine dungeon. Knowing the situation inside, Xiao Bai urged them to put on armor, but Song Ran disregarded this and told Xiao Bai to only protect herself if she changes her mind. Despite this, they both entered the dungeon, and as soon as they did, Song Ran effortlessly defeated numerous monsters. As soon as Song Ran and Xiao Bai entered the dungeon, they were immediately attacked by monsters. But Song Ran quickly sprang into action and effortlessly defeated the monsters. Inspired by Song Ran's bravery, Xiao Bai also joined the fight and summoned his beast, Darky. As Song Ran continued to battle, his strength level kept increasing with each monster he defeated. Despite his current monster silver level, he had no problem defeating the monsters in the dungeon. However, the annoying evolution mode had yet to appear, making it easier for them to progress. Xiao Bai, not wanting to be outdone, was ready to jump into the fray, but Song Ran told her he didn't have to as all the monsters had been defeated. Despite being impressed by Song Ran's formidable strength, Xiao Bai warned him that the dungeon bosses were meant for hunters who had a party team and could not be defeated by just one person. However, Song Ran replied that they wouldn't know until they tried. The entrance to the final boss room was guarded by two monsters, and it could be seen that the monsters were still on guard. Song Ran tasked Xiao Bai with taking care of the two guardian monsters, which caused Xiao Bai to feel belittled and become annoyed with him. Determined to prove herself, Xiao Bai started the attack and sent Darky towards the guardians. Darky transformed into a giant wolf monster and used his claws to attack the beasts. Despite the guardians' attempts to hold Darky back, their defense was no match for his strength, and the shield broke. Darky relentlessly attacked the monsters until he defeated one of them, without even Xiao Bai noticing. Although Song Ran was only a bronze rank hunter, his combat level had reached level 37, which was equivalent to a gold rating. This news surprised Xiao Bai, who wondered why Song Ran's rank had not been promoted. However, Song Ran was not concerned with promotions and believed that protecting Xiao Bai was more important. With his strength and Darky by his side, Song Ran arrived at the entrance to the final boss room and was confident that they would be successful in defeating the boss. Upon opening the door to the final boss room, Song Ran and Xiao Bai were greeted by a radiant light. Suddenly, a system notification appeared announcing that the evolution mode had been enabled and the boss was undergoing updates. Song Ran was aware of this possibility, as the dungeon's evolution mode could trigger with their entrance. As they entered the room, they were met by an intimidating, giant-sized monster, which puzzled Xiao Bai as such a boss should not have appeared in the dungeon. However, with the evolution mode activated, there was no turning back and they had to face the monster. The beast demonstrated its power by smacking its gun to the ground and causing the surroundings to crumble. Xiao Bai bravely took on the monster, ready to attack. Song Ran commanded Darky to approach, and without hesitation, Darky punched the boss monster square in the face, breaking one of its fangs. The impact of Darky's attack left the monster in agonizing pain. Darky relentlessly continued his assault, swiftly clawing and attacking the monster until it was finally brought to the ground. With one final move, Darky lifted the monster and slammed it down with force. Despite its intimidating appearance, the boss monster was no match for Darky's prowess. With the fight seemingly over, Darky struck a triumphant pose. Darky was taken aback by the ease of the battle, while Xiaobai smiled and informed Songran that they wouldn't have to bother defeating the monster since Darky had taken care of it. But to everyone's surprise, the monster suddenly rose again, even though it was evident that Darky had inflicted significant damage. Confused, Xiaobai asked why the boss monster was able to revive. Songran was prepared for this development, explaining that every dungeon he entered upgraded and became even more challenging, with higher level monsters. The monsters not only grew in size but also in strength. Songran asked for Xiaobai's help, who was deeply touched by the request. Suddenly, the monster attacked, unleashing a powerful strike with its hammer that destroyed everything in its path. But Songran was quick to react, effortlessly dodging the attack and counterattacking from above. With swift slashes, Songran aimed for the monster's back and successfully hit it, but to his surprise, the attack did not seem to have much effect on the beast. Despite his efforts, the monster survived Songran's attacks. The monster's endurance was truly remarkable, and as the situation worsened, Xiaobai began to fear that they would fail to defeat it. Songran explained that only assassin or mage-type hunters could take down a boss monster like this, and as a healer-type hunter at only bronze rank, they faced a difficult challenge. But as Xiaobai looked on in surprise, she saw Darky launching an attack on the monster. Despite Darky's efforts, the monster proved too strong and struck Darky with a powerful blow, injuring him severely. Darky was forced out of the fight and the monster took him down. The monster then let out an ear-piercing scream, and prepared to attack Songran and Xiaobai. The story flashes back to 3 days prior, when Songran acquired a mysterious stone. The stone was absorbed by Songran's sword and the system informed him that he had gained the power of an assassin to his sword. This meant that Songran had mastered the assassin-type hunter technique. He then unsheathed his Blade of Evolution sword and activated its assassin mode. This change in the sword left Songran shocked and confused. Just as the monster prepared to strike, Songran effortlessly parried its attack. Songran had mastered 2 distinct hunter types, the healer and the hunter-assassin. His mastery was evident in the change of his sword. When Xiaobai asked Songran how he had achieved this feat, Songran replied that it wasn't important at the moment, and that he needed to focus on defeating the monster that was attacking them. As they spoke, the monster launched an assault, but Songran quickly jumped out of the way. With lightning-fast reflexes, Songran attacked the monster with his assassin's sword. He executed a graceful side attack, jumping into the air, but the monster countered with a powerful defensive technique that created a protective shield, causing Songran to ricochet off. As Songran fell to the ground after being knocked down by the monster, the beast prepared to attack Xiaobai. However, Songran quickly regained his footing and blocked the monster's attack, severing one of its fingers with his assassin's sword. Enraged, Songran went on a rampage and relentlessly attacked the monster until it was beheaded. Although he was injured, Songran was still able to stand. He told Xiaobai to take her to safety and find shelter elsewhere, as he did not want to put his friend in danger. With renewed determination, Songran prepared for the monster's next move. The monster charged at Songran with a powerful stampede, but Songran deftly dodged and leapt at the beast. Despite the monster's attempts to fend off Songran's aerial attack, Songran managed to land on its grip and jump again. Songran's relentless barrage of strikes finally culminated in a devastating blow to the monster's head, causing it great pain. The monster gradually faded away as Songran emerged victorious as the conqueror of the Troll Mine dungeon. Xiaobai watched in amazement at Songran's strength, marveling at how a hunter with dual skills could match the abilities of a gold-level hunter, even without using his healing powers. The Troll Mine mission had been accomplished, and Songran stood triumphant. As per their initial agreement, Songran approached the injured Xiaobai to heal her wounds with his healer skill. However, things took a turn when Songran unsheathed his assassin's sword and pointed it at Xiaobai. Darky, who had just revived, became incensed and was about to attack Songran for threatening his companion. But Xiaobai stopped Darky, realizing that they were no match for Songran. Songran then sheathed his sword. Curious about the situation, Songran questioned Xiaobai about why she had broadcasted the fight live, and why she had followed Songran into the dangerous dungeon. It was then that Xiao Bai revealed her true intention, to invite Song Ran to join her guild, the Clover Guild. 2 years ago, the Clover Guild was once the greatest of all guilds. Its leader was a powerful alpha-level hunter, until a monster attack ravaged the human world and a super strong boss appeared. The monster's power proved to be too much for the guild's elite hunters, and many were killed. The guild leader bravely fought the monster alone, saving the Clover Guild from total annihilation. Unfortunately, only the guild leader survived among the elites. This led to the decline of the Clover Guild, and it became forgotten by the entire association. The goal of the Clover Guild now is to find hunters with the potential to become alpha-level hunters in the future, and make them the leaders of a new and thriving Clover Guild. They believe Song Ran fits the criteria, despite not being an alpha-rank hunter yet. They believe he has the potential to become a king-class hunter. However, Song Ran has yet to fully respond to Xiao Bai's invitation to join the Clover Guild. Then, Song Ran handed over the Awakening Stone to Xiao Bai and warned her not to seek him out again, as he believed he brought bad luck to those around him. Song Ran then departed from the scene. The scene then shifts to a car, where the leader of the Clover Guild, a female hunter, learned that the Troll Mine dungeon had been conquered by Song Ran. She saw this as the perfect opportunity to meet with Song Ran and have a face-to-face conversation with him. 3 days after the encounter with Xiao Bai, Song Ran had been working tirelessly and made significant progress, clearing multiple dungeons. However, he noticed something strange about his XP and level up speed. The more XP he gained, the slower his level up speed became. Nevertheless, Song Ran was content with his XP points. He then looked into the Awakening Stone he obtained from the Troll Mine, wondering what ability he would get from it. Upon activation, Song Ran was pleasantly surprised to find that he had acquired a new skill called Siphon Heal, a powerful upgrade to his existing healing ability. Despite being a poor healer himself, Song Ran wasn't sure how much use the new skill would be to him. Just as he was pondering this, he heard a knock on his door in the middle of the night. Song Ran's home was intruded upon by members of the Hunter Association who hadn't been given permission to enter. They claimed to be investigating Song Ran, as they found it suspicious that only 2 hunters had completed the Troll Mines, which was designed for a party of 5 hunters. Despite Song Ran's reservations about the investigation, the leader of the Clover Guild, Zhao Jingyan, was summoned and joined the conversation inside Song Ran's home. Song Ran asked the hunters what they were looking for, and initially thought it could be related to either the past hunter massacre or the change incident in the dungeon after Song Ran entered it a long time ago. However, it turned out that Song Ran's assumptions were incorrect. The real reason for the Hunter Association's visit to Song Ran's home was to recruit him. They offered to reveal the mysterious truth behind his mother's death, which had been kept from him by previous investigators. This lack of information about his mother's passing was what motivated Song Ran to become a hunter, with the goal of uncovering the truth. Zhao Jingyan informed Song Ran that she couldn't reveal everything yet, as he didn't have enough hunter points. These points determined the access to information within the Hunters Association, including the secret behind his mother's death. She told Song Ran that a seasonal dungeon, the Sea of Forgetfulness, was starting soon, and if he participated and successfully completed it, he would earn hunter points. Jingyan also advised Song Ran to approve the hunter ranking update, as it was related to information about his mother's death. Upon hearing this, Song Ran agreed to work with the Hunter Association and participate in the dungeon. The scene shifts to the Clover Guild office where Jingyan expresses her gratitude to Xiao Bai for providing information about Song Ran's abilities during the Troll Mine. She and the guild acknowledge Song Ran's potential to become an alpha-rank hunter and plan to keep a close eye on him, with the ultimate goal of having him lead the revival of the Clover Guild. Jingyan mentions the upcoming seasonal dungeon to Xiao Bai, who affirms her understanding. The scene then moves to the Hunter Association office, where Song Ran goes to update his hunter rank, disguised to avoid recognition. He heads to the evaluation room for the hunter upgrade and meets the head of the Clover Guild working there. Song Ran is informed that he will be meeting someone during the update. Upon entering the designated room, he is greeted by Byron, also known as Mr. Trader, who says he has been waiting for Song Ran for a long time. As Song Ran enters the room, Mr. Trader flings his cigarette ashtray aside and launches a sudden attack. Song Ran, however, is able to withstand the attack and deflect it. The force of the attack from Mr. Trader causes a hole in the wall, surprising all those who witness it. Song Ran, intrigued, asks Mr. Trader who he is and what he wants from him. Mr. Trader responds that he is there to test Song Ran's strength. It became evident that Mr. Trader was a formidable opponent, with a unique power called levitation that allowed him to control the wind. Song Ran was observed striking at stone, and he expressed his disbelief at Mr. Trader's declaration that this was what he called a judgment. Determined to find answers, Song Ran then moved to attack Mr. Trader. With lightning-fast movements, he sliced through the rubble and closed in on Mr. Trader, declaring that he had no intention of hurting him, and hoped for an explanation. In response, Mr. Trader chuckled and asked if Song Ran truly believed he could hurt him. Arriving in front of Mr. Trader, he unleashed a powerful attack known as Balance Blade. The clash between Song Ran's attack and Mr. Trader was intense, with Song Ran's surprisingly strong attack met with ease by Mr. Trader, who blocked it with just one finger. Mr. Trader warned Song Ran that the world is harsh and that a single misstep could lead to ruin. He accused Song Ran of being overly confident. In a fit of anger, Mr. Trader kicked Song Ran, causing him to stumble and fall. As Song Ran tried to regain his footing, he found himself surrounded by thick smoke, unable to see his surroundings. When the smoke cleared, he was shocked to find himself on the rooftop of the Hunter Association building, with no memory of how he got there. Mr. Trader then resumed their conversation, remarking that the difference in their strength was simply too great, and that he didn't even seem to be trying during their fight. As he spoke, Mr. Trader floated high in the air. Mr. Trader boasts the ability to fly and hover in the air. He taunts Song Ran, saying that he can't possibly beat him. He challenges Song Ran to survive one of his attacks, saying that if he could, Mr. Trader would pass on the title. This humiliating remark only serves to fuel Song Ran's determination. With a fierce determination, he activates his assassin mode and siphon heal, granting him an increase in strength, speed, and resistance. Despite the overwhelming odds, Song Ran refuses to give up. The sight of Song Ran's newfound power seemed to surprise Mr. Trader. He unleashed his signature move, the Tornado Towering Technique, a stance that brings forth a thunderstorm. A powerful explosion rocked the city, its origin unknown but definitely not from Mr. Trader's technique. Mr. Trader then descended and landed on the roof of the building, ending the assessment. He declared that based on Song Ran's performance, he would pass, much to Song Ran's surprise. Mr. Trader clarified that their fight was not about ranking, but simply about showcasing Song Ran's strength. He expressed that he had no interest in playing games and had no time to waste. A loud explosion echoed throughout the city, indicating something major has occurred. It was confirmed that a massive dungeon portal appeared in the heart of the city, reminiscent of a similar incident that happened 50 years ago. This could mean that the shelter model or monster attacks on the human world may begin earlier than expected. At the Team G notification hall, a dangerous alarm blares, the red light on the monitor flashing. The Hunter Association team quickly detects the appearance of the portal in the city and contacts hunters in the area to respond to the emergency. The chief investigator, Chief Xiao, is also informed of the emergence of the dungeon portal. Mr. Trader and Song Ran, who were observing the situation from the roof of the building, discussed the appearance of the portal that signaled the arrival of monsters to attack the city. Mr. Trader expressed his concerns about the portal appearing earlier than expected and wondered if it was due to a detector error or a change in circumstances. Despite having alpha-level hunters on standby, they were currently occupied with the Grey Gate inside the dungeon. Mr. Trader acknowledged Song Ran's improvement in strength and believed that she was now ready to enter the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. He offered to take Song Ran there, via the portal on the third floor of the Hunter Association lobby that connected to the Sky Tower. Mr. Trader informed Song Ran that his hunter rank would be determined based on the floor he could manage. Suddenly, Song Ran received an urgent message on his Windows status to attend to a monster invasion at the city center. There was a reward for hunters who successfully defeated the monsters, the amount of which was determined by the number of defeated creatures. While observing the situation via a live broadcast, Song Ran noticed that Xiao Bai was on the scene fighting with other hunters. Despite Mr. Trader assuming Song Ran's concern was for Xiao Bai, Song Ran clarified that he was there to earn hunter points. Determined to aid in the effort, Song Ran quickly made his way to the city center to assist Xiao Bai and fight off the monsters. The city was thrown into chaos as monsters emerged from the dungeon portal and wreaked havoc. Hunters, including Song Ran, had arrived with their guildmates to fight the creatures. Song Ran navigated through the panicked citizens, making his way towards the monsters. He encountered a massive creature and activated his assassin mode sword to engage in combat. While he was fighting, he noticed a little girl holding a doll in a nearby building window, which was quickly destroyed by the monster, causing the child to be thrown to the ground. She screamed for help, and Song Ran, grappling with the dilemma of how to save her, was torn between his duty to fight and his instinct to protect. Suddenly, Darky appeared, jumping and catching the little boy who was falling, landing safely while cradling the child. This was a remarkable display of skill and bravery by Darky. As Song Ran and Xiao Bai met, Song Ran asked if Xiao Bai was okay. It was evident that Song Ran was concerned for his friend. Xiao Bai replied that he was only slightly injured from the earlier battle and showed Song Ran his injured hand. Song Ran then used his healing powers to treat Xiao Bai's wounds. Xiao Bai blushed at Song Ran's kindness and explained that many high-level hunters were present, but none were able to defeat the monsters due to their formidable protective power. The hunters were at a loss on how to penetrate the protective barrier around the monster they planned to fight. Suddenly, a motorcyclist appeared, driving with incredible speed towards the beast. Song Ran, Darky and Xiao Bai joined the attack. The giant monster was being assailed by the hunters, but it was guarded by a protector that made their attacks ineffective. The motorcyclist flew through the air and landed a powerful double strike on the monster. He then continued his assault, jumping over the monster's back. Sadly, his motorcycle crashed to the ground and exploded, but the monster remained unharmed, protected by its guardian. Determined to attack the monster's back, Song Ran, along with Darky, sprang into action. They soared through the air, ready to unleash their full power on the beast. With Darky's support and a boost from his hand, Song Ran launched himself towards the monster. Meanwhile, the red-haired hunter continued his relentless attack on the monster's feet. When Song Ran arrived in front of the beast, he swung his sword with all his might, but the barrier was too strong. However, after some searching, he discovered the weakness in the barrier and with a powerful thrust, his sword penetrated it. The attack penetrated the monster's armor, causing it significant injury. The beast went into a frenzy, and its protective barrier crumbled. As Song Ran was thrown out along with the shattered pieces of the barrier, he was in danger of falling from a great height. But Xiao Bai acted quickly, asking Darky to catch and save him. Darky responded with lightning speed and safely caught Song Ran. With the barrier now broken, the other hunters were in shock as they had tried to destroy it many times before, but failed. Song Ran, however, had succeeded where they could not. The red-haired hunter then signaled for another hunter to join in the attack. Together, they unleashed their full power and ultimate technique, finally defeating the monster. In the midst of the crowd, the red-haired hunter falsely claimed that he had destroyed the monster's barrier. But everyone saw the truth that Song Ran was the one who had succeeded. The red-haired hunter was annoyed that he had been defeated by Song Ran, and that his fame was overshadowed. Suddenly, a new hunter appeared, a female carrying a massive weapon called the Quantum Cannon. This was Suku, a member of the Huangtu Guild. She held a grudge against Song Ran, as her older brother had died in a normal-level dungeon, which was led by Song Ran's team. Although Song Ran was the only survivor, Suku blamed him for her brother's death. Suku later joined the Huangtu Guild, whose goal was to defeat Song Ran. She arrived to aid the hunters in their battles against invading monsters. Unbeknownst to her, Song Ran, the hunter she had been searching for, was nearby. They began to combat giant monsters, but like the previous beast, it had a strong barrier that nullified their attacks. The defeated monsters even rose again. Determined to earn hunter points, Suku attacked the monster with her weapon. However, the barrier blocked her attack and could only be destroyed by Song Ran's immense strength. The other hunters pleaded with Song Ran to take action and break the barrier once more. Song Ran and Darky sprang into action. As they approached the monster, a hunter with healing abilities augmented Song Ran's power. The combination of the hunter's buff and Song Ran's assassin skills made him even stronger, exuding an aura of immense mana. Darky helped propel Song Ran towards the beast. Upon reaching the monster, Song Ran's strengthened attack shattered its barrier. This earned him a new skill, Phantom, which allowed him to turn into a shadow and evade any incoming attacks. Song Ran unsheathed his sword and, utilizing his new skill, leaped onto the monster and continued the battle. Song Ran and Darky were on a mission to take down a monster. They were joined by another hunter who had the healing skill and used it to empower Song Ran. With the help of their buff skills, Song Ran felt a surge of strength coursing through him. A bright mana aura surrounded his body. Darky grabbed Song Ran's hand and launched him towards the monster with great force. As Song Ran flew towards the monster, he was met with its barrier. But with the help of his fellow hunters and his own assassin power, he was able to break through the barrier and inflict damage on the monster. After breaking the barrier, Song Ran acquired a new active skill, Phantom, which allowed him to turn into a shadow and become invulnerable to any incoming attacks. He drew his sword and jumped onto the monster, activating his new skill. With the Phantom skill activated, Song Ran transformed into a transparent shadow-like figure. The monster tried to attack him, but its fragments went right through his body without leaving a mark. Although Song Ran was still limited in his movements, he could now control gravity and fly freely in the air. This new power was a great asset to Song Ran as he prepared for the next phase of the battle. Determined to conquer the monster on his own, Song Ran used his phantom power to fly and attack the monster with his sword. A red-haired hunter who witnessed Song Ran's power was filled with envy and acknowledged the advantage of having the support of other hunters and their buff skills. Not wanting to be outdone, the red-haired hunter charged towards the monster with his drag sword technique skill. Song Ran was taken aback as the hunter unleashed a powerful quantum cannon weapon, and the two of them appeared to be competing for the chance to defeat the monster. Along with Suku's gun cannon, the two hunters attacked the monster relentlessly, causing it immense pain. The other hunters watching the battle noticed the monster starting to weaken as its weak points were being constantly attacked. They all sprang into action and joined the fight, hoping to finish off the monster. However, the monster went berserk and proved too powerful for the hunters to defeat. As it charged towards Suku, the three of them were now in grave danger as mobs were closing in on them. Suddenly Song Ran, who was in his phantom form, appeared inside the body of the monster. He activated his sword mode and started moving with the monster, jumping and attacking with ferocity. This time, Song Ran used his healing sword mode and was able to inflict damage on the monsters. The hunters were amazed at Song Ran's skills as he was a rare dual-type hunter with both healing and assassin powers. In one swift move, Song Ran made a hand of the monster turn to stone, immobilizing it. He then cut it off and crushed the now petrified monster. With the monster weakened from Song Ran's attack, the hunters eagerly joined the fight, eager to defeat it once and for all. The battle against the monster reaches its climax as the hunters unleash their full arsenal of skills and abilities. Song Ran, who is using his phantom form, manages to get inside the monster's body and cause significant damage with his healing mode sword. The other hunters follow suit and join in the attack until finally, Song Ran delivers the fatal blow, cutting down the monster and earning 164 points as a hunter and unlimited XP. The victory is celebrated with cheers and excitement, but the red-haired hunter, who is revealed to be the leader of the hunter team, approaches Song Ran for a talk. However, Suku, who realizes that the hunter who defeated the monster is Song Ran, approaches with hostile intentions, ready to take him down. With a heavy heart, Song Ran faced Suku, who was seeking revenge for the death of her brother. Despite Xiao Bai's attempts to protect Song Ran, Suku threatened to harm him if he interfered. When Song Ran revealed his face by removing his hat and glasses, Suku recognized him as the cursed hunter responsible for the massacre of her brother and his comrades. Song Ran was at a loss for words, as rumors and false stories surrounding the tragedy circulated, blaming him for the massacre and labeling him as a jinxed hunter. But despite this, Song Ran apologized to Suku and took the blame for their situation. However, before Song Ran could be harmed by Suku, the team leader intervened, deflecting the bullet aimed at Song Ran. The chairman then informed them that they had formed an alliance to defeat the monster, and Song Ran would be joining them. Just as they thought they were safe, a jeep belonging to the Hunter Association drove up to them. The driver was sent on an urgent mission and quickly gathered all the hunters to leave the area. He warned them that more and stronger monsters were on their way, and a dangerous portal was about to appear in that place. A hunter who was not aware of the situation asked what the impending portals had to do with them. Meanwhile, another hunter who was informed of the situation ordered everyone to leave immediately, as the portals were a great threat to their safety. To their surprise, the defeated monster suddenly sprang back to life and pointed its hand at its stomach. The scene then shifts to a monster sitting on its throne, who appears to be the king of the monsters invading the earth. The scene returns to the center of town, where they discover that the monster they defeated earlier had been reduced to ashes. Using the last of its energy, the monster opened the portal, much to the shock and silence of the hunters. Once the portal opened, anything in its vicinity would be drawn into it, just like what happened 50 years prior. The portal looked different this time, but before they knew it, they were all pulled inside. Upon arrival, they found themselves in a dungeon known as the Forgotten Sea, somewhere within the portal. The state of Song Ran, who was still in the portal, is revealed. The system notification announced that the portal had loaded successfully. Suddenly, a woman named Doris appeared and introduced herself as Song Ran's AI guide. It turns out that Song Ran had been redirected to a place called the Sky Portal, and he was currently in the Sky Tower. Song Ran asked Doris why he was the only one in the Sky Tower, and why the other hunters were elsewhere. Doris explained that the other hunters were likely in the Forgotten Sea, and that Song Ran was special, which is why he was here. To Song Ran's surprise, Doris also knew about his goal to uncover the truth behind his mother's death, and was aware of his entire life story. Song Ran was taken aback by Doris' knowledge and asked how she knew so much. Doris explained that Song Ran was an awakened hunter, stronger than other hunters, which was why he was brought to the Sky Tower alone. Although Song Ran wanted to join his fellow hunters in the Forgotten Sea, Doris advised against it, as his presence would put them in danger and change the nature of the dungeon. With this explanation, Song Ran and Doris arrived at the door of the Sky Tower. The Sky Tower underwent an evolution and the sky turned red, signaling a higher level of difficulty. In the Forgotten Sea, Xiaobai searched for Song Ran, but she was nowhere to be found. The other hunters also reported not seeing her. Suddenly, a messenger from the Hunters Association announced the arrival of the first batch of bosses. A fierce wind started to blow, bringing with it a yellow mist and rocks like a sandstorm. Out of the mist emerged a formidable creature known as the God of the Sand and Sea. The keeper of the storm door was a powerful being who controlled the sand in the area. He took out his book and staff, announcing that the great god would pass judgment on humans who had polluted the world. The sandstorm intensified and the situation seemed dire. The team leader of the hunters stepped forward to attack, instructing his companions to watch his movements. The creature was aware of the attack and cast a devastating skill, declaring the start of its judgment. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to Song Ran battling in the Sky Tower. He had made his way through the 9th floor with ease. Though he initially thought the Sky Tower would be a breeze, he realized that it would only get harder as she progressed to the next floor. As Song Ran stepped into the tower, he was aware of the rule that a boss monster would stand guard at every 10th floor. Defeating the monster would result in a reward, with higher floors yielding better rewards. With anticipation, Song Ran entered the portal to the first 10th floor, eager to face the unknown boss monster waiting for him. Upon arrival, he found the monster relaxed and surprisingly, it could speak human language. The monster welcomed Song Ran with surprise, noting that finally someone had taken on the challenge. It was apparent that the monster was immense in size and strength, as it unsheathed its sword and attacked. But Song Ran was quick to activate his phantom skill, turning into a shadow and avoiding the monster's attack. The monster was taken aback as Song Ran reappeared behind it, ready to strike with his assassin's sword. Though Song Ran managed to wound the monster, it was far from defeated. The monster countered with a powerful blast of chi, repelling Song Ran with ease. It was then that Song Ran realized the monster's chi was infused with both the element of fire and the berserk element, making it a berserk-type boss. The display of power by the monster left Song Ran in awe. Despite taking a hard hit from the monster, Song Ran appeared unfazed as the monster taunted him for being weak. Song Ran retorted, stating that the monster was disappointing compared to the other devilish bosses he had defeated before. This only served to enrage the monster further. Gathering his strength, Song Ran activated his Siphon Heal power to boost his abilities. The monster attacked with ferocity, but Song Ran was ready. He purposely took a hit, causing pain to ripple through his body. But this time, he had activated his Assassin Mode sword, and with the added strength from Siphon Heal, he declared his intention to fight seriously and defeat the monster as quickly as possible. The monster was shocked when he saw Song Ran's healing abilities and became increasingly irritated with him. In a fit of anger, the monster swung his great sword at Song Ran, but to the monster's surprise, Song Ran blocked the attack with just his bare hands. He even managed to grip the blade until it shattered, showing off his immense strength. Song Ran confidently declared that he could easily defeat these monsters now. The boss monster's sword was also destroyed, much to his disbelief. How could his weapon be shattered by Song Ran? The monster became more frustrated and attempted to attack with his bare hands, but Song Ran's counterattack resulted in the monster's hand being severed and shattered. Throughout this, Song Ran remained still and unaffected. Song Ran revealed that he was simply testing the monster's strength before launching a full-blown attack. He successfully defeated the monster using his ultimate skill, and was now holding its head as a prize. He cast the head aside and prepared to continue his journey to the next floor, reflecting on the past. He remembered encountering someone with strength, and the same piercing eyes as himself. This realization that monsters were not demons, but rather humans, made an impact on him. After his victory, Song Ran was rewarded with a valuable item that could be fused with his sword. The scene shifted to the Hunter Association where the members of the Flame Dragon Guild had gathered to embark on a journey into the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon with other hunters. The story shifts to the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, where Hunter is in the midst of a grueling battle against the God of Sand. Despite the hunters' attempts to penetrate the sandstorm, not even their magic spells were effective. The hunters soon find themselves in the grip of a curse, as their heads start throbbing with pain. The monster, who had taken refuge in the sandstorm, had cast a spell that caused the headache. However, Xiaobai was seemingly unaffected. The man from the Hunter Association explains that the magic is a type of curse spell known as the Three Mysteries, which randomly curses half the players present and drains their life force. Thoth, the god of wisdom from ancient Egyptian mythology, is said to be the source of this magic. The curse continues to spread, eventually killing all players unless it is broken with a healing spell. The stronger the healing spell, the greater the chances of breaking the curse and freeing those under its grip. The hunters ask the healers for help, but the healers are exhausted from recently battling monsters that devastated the city, leaving them with limited mana. The Hunter Association proposes a second plan, attacking the monster's wind wall. Strong hunters can use their attack skills to break through the wall and reach Thoth. A successful strike will cause the wind wall to disappear. In an effort to stop the curse from spreading, the hunters decide to take down the monster. However, the possibility of illusions presents a new challenge. Suddenly, Hunter feels a sharp pain in his head, indicating that he has been cursed by the monster. The hunters are in a state of panic as they realize the consequences of death inside the dungeon are the same as dying in the real world. One of the hunters refuses to give up and charges towards the wind wall in an attempt to break through. Despite their efforts, they are unable to penetrate the wall and the monster launches a counterattack, sending the hunter crashing to the ground. As a surprise, the Hunter Association's jeep was also trapped within the wall of wind. It appeared that the monster, Thoth, was at the heart of the disturbance. The jeep, driven at breakneck speed, penetrated the wall with ease, marking the hunters' last hope to save their fellow members. The driver, armed with a sword and skilled in the advanced demon sword/slash technique, fearlessly approached Thoth and ultimately defeated the monster with a swift strike. The monster was of the magic type, vulnerable in close combat. Had it not been for the protective wall of wind, the hunter would have easily defeated it. The hunter's extraordinary sword technique proved to be successful in eliminating the monster in a single blow. However, their victory was short-lived as the original monster suddenly reappeared, catching the hunters by surprise. They began to wonder if what they had just defeated was merely an illusion. The monster then launched a counterattack, using dark magic in the form of a monster's hand. The hunter was taken aback by the power of the monster's assault magic spells. As the monster's attack was about to strike the hunter, Darky stepped in to defend. With a swift strike, Darky knocked the monster's arm and caused the wand to fall and fly away. The hunter realized that the magic wand was key to the monster's magic spells and without it, the monster would be powerless. Darky promptly retrieved the wand and threw it to Xiaobai with the aim of keeping it away from the monster's grasp. As Xiaobai held the wand, she was taken on a journey through its memories. It was then that she understood the way to defeat the Thoth monsters. These monsters collected the souls of hunters and used them to create dark magic illusions. The illusory attack of the monster Thoth then headed towards Xiaobai, but she was ready, wielding the magic wand. Thoth was known as the god of blasphemy and illusion, but Xiaobai was determined to put an end to its reign. Xiaobai successfully defeated the monster with her magic and emerged victorious. With this defeat, the main mob wave in the Forgotten Sea was also defeated, and Xiaobai obtained the staff of the Thoth monster. As a skilled mage, she was able to end the monster's reign of terror. The defeated monster's cursed magic disappeared, and the fallen hunters began to rise again. Their mission continued as they set their sights on the next destination, the golden light radiating from the center of the pyramid. They were determined to reach their final goal. Song Ran has reached the 50th floor of Sky Tower and decides to use his reward to recover his mana in preparation for the boss monster. As soon as his mana is restored, he senses the aura of the boss monster, who, strangely, resembles a human. The monster speaks human language and reveals that it hasn't had a good fight in a while. Song Ran believes that the monsters in Sky Tower have been brainwashed into only thinking about fighting. The boss monster then challenges Song Ran to battle. The monster suddenly erupted in a red aura and lunged at Song Ran with its sword. Although Song Ran managed to dodge the attack, he began to doubt his ability to defeat the monster. The monster relentlessly attacked, but Song Ran managed to block its ranged skill. The monster taunted Song Ran to fight to the death. In a swift move, the monster succeeded in injuring Song Ran, causing him to fall. The monster laughed, and boasted that Song Ran was no match for the monsters it had defeated before. But Song Ran refused to give up and despite his injury, got back on his feet. The monster then cast its powerful skill, Blood Prison Shura Field. The monster summoned countless swords from a red circle and launched a barrage of attacks at Song Ran. In response, Song Ran activated his phantom skill and transformed into a shadow, allowing the blades to pass through him without harm. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Song Ran entered assassin mode and struck the monster from behind with his assassin sword. The attack seemed to inflict damage, but the monster urged Song Ran to reveal his true strength. As Song Ran prepared for another strike, an explosion occurred and he was thrown backwards, bewildered by why he was hit despite using his phantom skill. He wondered if the effect of his phantom skill had worn off. The monster tore off its blindfold to reveal its many, multifaceted eyes capable of dispelling any form of magic. As long as it kept its magic eye active, the enemy wouldn't be able to use any magical abilities. It was no wonder that Song Ran's phantom was powerless in front of the monster at that moment. The monster acknowledged that Song Ran was so strong that it had to utilize the power of its magic eye when facing him. The monster then unleashed its final move, wielding a sword that appeared even larger than before. The sword came hurtling towards Song Ran. Song Ran, who possessed the ability to use his phantom skills, attempted to deflect and dodge the attack. Despite his efforts, Song Ran was gravely injured from the monster's blow. In a moment of desperation, he declared that they would both die and unleashed his ultimate skill, attacking the monster with all his might. The attack unleashed a radiant, brilliant light that enabled Song Ran to overcome the monster's formidable defense. Song Ran challenged the monster to surrender, explaining that while the monster may temporarily revive, he himself would meet his permanent demise. With relentless determination, Song Ran finally emerged victorious, as the monster slowly crumbled and vanished into nothingness. The monster's final words echoed, claiming that it was the power of nothingness that had granted it its demonic energy. A human-like silhouette was reflected in the water beneath the demon, possibly implying that it was once a human who had been transformed into a guardian monster. The Sky Tower was full of mysteries and questions that troubled Song Ran as he passed the 50th floor. Despite his progress, Song Ran decided to return, realizing that with his current strength, it was impossible for him to reach the 60th floor. Back at the Sky Tower lobby, Song Ran encountered Doris, who presented him with gifts for reaching the 50th floor. Suddenly, a system notification appeared, declaring that Song Ran had fulfilled his XP and reached the platinum level. The notification then warned that Song Ran would be transported back to the human world in just 3 seconds. Song Ran had returned from exploring the Sky Tower and made his way to the Hunter Association office. He was eager to learn more about the mysteries of the Sky Tower and determined to finish every floor it had to offer. The young hunter felt that his evolutionary sword was connected to the death of his mother, which occurred within the Sky Tower. As Song Ran stepped out of the office, he was greeted by an architect from one of the guilds in Song Ran City. Soon after, the hunters found themselves in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, taking a well-deserved break at a place called the Fanadu Green Continent. They were surprised to discover that there was a base camp where they could rest, and were greeted warmly by the friendly locals. According to the Hunter Association, there were 8 golden pyramids in the Sky Tower. The hunters were determined to uncover their secrets, and find out what lies at the heart of this mysterious place. To complete their mission, the hunters were tasked with conquering each of the pyramids. As they discussed their plans, the tribal leader approached them with a secret about the Sea of Sand. The old man warned that, even though they had previously defeated the god Thoth, they would still face many challenges in the chosen god's battle. They would need to defeat not just Thoth, but also 7 other powerful monsters and gods. The man from the Hunters Association started to mention the names of the divine beasts they would encounter, but the old tribal chief cut him off. He insisted that only he knew the true secrets of the Sea of Sand, and that the hunters must be prepared for what lay ahead. The old tribal chief reminded the hunters that each defeated god would equate to 1 conquered pyramid. By successfully navigating through each of the small pyramids, they would eventually reach the main pyramid and have the chance to triumph. Once upon a time, the desert was ruled by a god named Are, and under his leadership, the people lived in peace. However, when the 8 great gods gathered, they put Are into a deep slumber, sparking a battle for power amongst themselves. The winner of the chosen god's battle would become the new ruler of the desert as a god. The prize for defeating a god was the ability to participate in the battle for godly rule. Upon hearing this, Xiao Bai realized that she herself could potentially be considered a god. The battle for power in the desert never ends, with new rulers constantly emerging from each battle. The old tribal chief continued his tale, saying that he believed that one day, the god Are would awaken and put an end to the eternal conflict. The hunters listened in silence, until the man from the Hunter Association spoke up. He revealed that it was all just a game, and that their only task was to follow orders from the Hunter Association and search for the other 6 gods. With that, the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon would officially begin. Just then, Suku announced that she would conquer one of the smaller pyramids by herself, which caught everyone off guard. The others were skeptical, doubting that a single person could conquer a pyramid. However, Suku was determined to prove them wrong. The representative of the association explained that the difficulty level of the pyramid would be adjusted based on the number of individuals exploring it, with fewer people resulting in an easier experience. Upon hearing this, the leader of the hunter team decided to tackle the remaining pyramids with his team. The scene shifts to Song Ran and the guild architect. Song Ran was curious as to how the man knew of his return from the Sky Tower. The man revealed that he was able to track Song Ran's position through the use of an elemental and hunter system. The architect then invited Song Ran for a chat over lunch, but Song Ran declined as he was not dressed appropriately. The man kindly offered clothing for Song Ran, ensuring that he would not have to return home before the conversation. Dressed in the clothes provided, Song Ran followed the man to have their talk. The story then shifts to the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, where a red-haired hunter named Cien is exploring one of the pyramids. As he walks through the dungeon, the candles in the room suddenly light up on their own, taking Cien by surprise. The room resembles an arena, with the lights from the torches creating an intense atmosphere. Suddenly, a monster god appeared from above Sai Te, the former god of war and power. Determined not to be defeated by the monster, Cien introduced himself as the leader of the Anlong Guild and the first echelon of the future. The monster expressed delight at finding a worthy opponent in Cien. Cien initiated the battle with a technique called Holly Slash, but the monster effortlessly parried the attack. Cien continued to attack, but the monster's strength proved too much, easily brushing off each strike. Cien was taken aback by the monster's impressive power. The monster then countered with its own attacks, but Cien managed to endure them. Cien was not prepared for the monster to be on the level of a diamond-tier hunter. Saite soon realized that Cien was not as weak as he had initially thought. Feeling underestimated, Cien once again launched an attack, charging towards the monster, but the monster was able to block the attack. The battle between Cien and the monster Saite reached a fever pitch, with each attack more intense than the last. The outcome was shocking, as Saite countered by punching Cien from below with such force that Cien was knocked backwards. The monster did not stop there, continuing its attack by striking Cien's back and sending him flying through the air. The terrible power displayed by the mature monster Saite left Cien struggling to get back up. Cien was well aware of the dire circumstances, knowing that without a healer, defeating boss monsters becomes more difficult. He drank a potion to restore himself and continued the fight. Meanwhile, Suku was in another pyramid, ready for battle with her cannon weapon. However, strange things started happening, as she saw no one in the arena, and her thoughts turned to the problem with Song Ran. Suku found herself in a dilemma, torn between her suspicion of Song Ran as a potential killer of her brother, and the feeling that he had saved her life, making him a good person. She also felt guilty for having threatened Song Ran earlier. Suddenly, a voice echoed in her mind, claiming that Suku's choice was wrong and filling her head with hateful thoughts against her father who had killed her mother. This inner turmoil weighed heavily on Suku's mind, causing her to feel immense pain and suffering. Despite firing her cannon weapon in all directions, the voice continued to haunt her, weakening her mental state. According to the tribal chief, Suku was in great danger, as she was in the small pyramid where the boss monster god Horus resided. The scene then shifts to Song Ran, who is in conversation with the guild's architect at the association's office. The details of their discussion are unknown. Back in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, the leader continues to explain the Horus Pyramid. According to Cian's knowledge, the Horus Pyramid is a trap-like maze. The boss monsters in the pyramid are not easily recognizable and their power is called God Dream. These boss monsters have the ability to enter their opponent's mind, manipulate their thoughts, and create illusions. This has led to instances where hunter teams, under the influence of the illusions, have turned on each other and caused harm. Suku was under the control of the monster Horus, and had been chasing Song Ran. As she was surrounded by cars, she was hit by one and fell unconscious in front of Song Ran. In the illusion, Song Ran appeared to be the villain, but the truth was unknown. The scene then shifts to the pyramid where Cien was battling the monster Saite. The battle had reached its conclusion, with Cien badly wounded, while the monster remained unscathed. Cien tried to heal himself by drinking his potions, but they had run out. The monster declared that it was time for Cien's death. Cien was lying on the ground, unable to stand up due to the severity of his injuries. Just as the monster was about to strike, a savior appeared, Song Ran. Song Ran had suddenly entered the scene and attacked the monster Saite, much to Cien's surprise. Song Ran thanked Cien for saving him from the bullet shot by Suku. Now it was Song Ran's turn to repay the favor and protect Xian. Song Ran activated his healing abilities and tended to Xian's wounds. The scene then shifts to the Hunter Association office, where Song Ran is speaking with the guild architect, Sun Wu. It was revealed that Sun Wu had teleported Song Ran to Xian's location. As Xian's body fully recovered, he got back on his feet. The two decided to continue their conversation later, as they first needed to cooperate against the monster Saite. The monster unleashed its ultimate technique, the Spear of War, which was incredibly powerful and caused a massive impact on the surroundings. Xian assured Song Ran not to be intimidated, as they had the advantage with 2 against 1. However, the situation took a surprising turn as the monster created an army of fearless monsters to fight against them. Song Ran and Xian were now surrounded by thousands of monsters, including the formidable Saite. Song Ran and Xian found themselves surrounded by artificial skeleton monsters from Saite. Without hesitation, they sprang into action, using their combat skills to take down the monsters one by one. Despite Song Ran's impressive strength, the sheer number of skeleton beasts made the fight challenging. The two warriors were left to wonder how they would defeat the never-ending horde as long as the final boss, the Saite monster, remained alive. Song Ran asked Xian if he had ever been to the Sky Tower, where he believed they might find a solution to their problem. Though they were capable of defeating the skeleton beasts, their numbers were overwhelming, and the source of the monsters, the Saite monster, still posed a significant threat. As long as the Saite monster remained alive, the army of skeleton beasts would never cease. The scene shifted to the hunters' base camp outside the pyramids, where reinforcements from various hunter guilds had arrived. Among them was Lu Ji Yao, the guild master of the Clover Guild, who had come in response to a request from the Hunter Association. Also present was the guild master of the Jiangqing Guild, Qi Suyan. The Huangtu Guild also arrived, with their leader carrying a grudge against Song Ran. The Huangtu Guild had brought with them 2 hired hunters who were not ordinary, but instead possessed awakened powers. The leader of the Royal Map Guild, Xing Seiyu, was revealed to be one of these special hunters. The news of their arrival stunned and silenced the other hunters, as they were part of the first echelon of powerful hunters. The story then shifted back to the pyramid where Song Ran and Xian were battling the endless horde of skeleton monsters. During the fight, Song Ran remembered the words of the Saite monster, which seemed to hold the key to the mechanics of the game. With this new information, he continued his attack on the skeleton beasts. He surmised that the army of skeletons was controlled by the final boss and was part of the mechanism that determined the difficulty of the boss fight. Xian remembered what Mr. Liu had said about the number of hunters affecting the difficulty, leading them to conclude that the increased number of hunters in the pyramid, due to Song Ran's arrival, was the reason for the heightened number of skeleton monsters. The two warriors came to the realization that they would only be able to end the endless fight when they defeated the final boss. Irony struck when Song Ran arrived to assist Xian, but instead of providing relief, his arrival only added to their troubles. The overwhelming number of skeleton monsters made it nearly impossible for them to reach the final boss, Saite. Despite the odds, Song Ran pressed on, attacking the skeleton beasts. He then revealed a surprise weapon. He had combined an item obtained from exiting the Sky Tower with his Blade of Evolution's sword. Xian looked on in confusion as Song Ran explained that he was an awakened hunter, part of the elite group of hunters known as the First Echelon. Xian expressed his long-standing desire to become an awakened hunter and expressed frustration at Song Ran for keeping his status as one a secret. But their conversation was cut short as the skeleton monsters approached. Xian took action, using his drag sword art technique to buy time for Song Ran to finish fusing his weapon. In the end, Song Ran successfully merged the item with his Blade of Evolution's sword. He then collected other items, ready to take on the horde of monsters. Xian, running low on mana, urgently asked Song Ran to finish enhancing his sword. Song Ran completed the fusion process, and the sword now appeared larger with increased strength. The army of skeleton monsters approached, but Song Ran was ready to showcase his newfound power and make the monsters, especially Saite, regret ever crossing his path. With a single, powerful strike, Song Ran sliced through the monster standing in front of him. The impact of the attack was so strong that it even struck the monsters behind it. Xian was amazed by Song Ran's formidable strength. Song Ran declared that these skeletons were no challenge for him, and he was now set on defeating the Saite monster. The sight of Song Ran's overpowering might made the other skeletons tremble with fear. Undeterred, Song Ran continued his assault, attacking the remaining monsters. Despite the fact that each attack reduced his XP, Song Ran's healing skill negated its effects, allowing him to keep fighting without any hindrance. However, using healing skills consumed a significant amount of mana, so Song Ran needed to quickly finish the battle before his mana was depleted. He confronted the Sai Te monster, ready for a showdown. Song Ran attacked, striking the monster with a slashing blow, but the Sai Te monster managed to survive the hit. The battle wasn't over yet, as Cien secretly snuck up from behind and stabbed the monster's arm. Enraged, the monster Sai Te grabbed Cien's sword and unleashed its signature move, the Withering Lightning. This was a formidable technique possessed by the monster. The Withering Lightning was a devastating attack, capable of hitting anyone in its vicinity, including Cien. Even Song Ran was forced to retreat after witnessing the monster's move. Despite the pain he felt, Cien refused to give up. He recognized Song Ran as a powerful hunter, but asked for a chance to defeat the final boss himself. Song Ran agreed to Cien's request and handed the monster, capable of unleashing the Withering Lightning, over to him. The monster Sai Te laughed mockingly when it heard the word trust. It declared that Cien had no chance of winning, as the difference in strength between the monster and Cien was immense. The monster grew even stronger, executing its powerful move and causing Cien immense pain. Song Ran became increasingly worried for Cien, but he was also faced with the threat of skeleton soldiers attacking from behind. Despite the odds, Cien insisted on holding onto his sword and refused to give up. With unwavering determination, Cien continued to thrust his sword into the Sai Te monster. Despite the sword starting to crack, a red aura emerged from it. Cien then activated a skill called Broken Crimson Lightning, harnessing the explosive power of the cracking sword. The skill impacted the monster and caused a massive explosion. In the end, Cien emerged victorious, defeating the monster Sai Te. As the monster disappeared before Song Ran and Cien, it warned that it would return after the dungeon was reset, bringing hell to hunters in the future. With the defeat of the final boss, all the monsters in the area disappeared, and the system congratulated the two hunters on their success. Cien received a prize in the form of an item that could be used to enhance a weapon. However, since his sword was destroyed, he was no longer able to continue fighting. Out of his loyalty to Song Ran, he gifted the item to him, entrusting Song Ran to clear the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon and continue the fight. Suddenly, Song Ran heard a notification from the system announcing that an oddity had been detected and the dungeon would be reset immediately. He quickly realized that the changes in the dungeon were not caused by him. A bright light suddenly appeared in the sky, altering the situation. They were then presented with a door that had opened, revealing a monster seated on a throne. So far, they had not been introduced to this monster, and time was running out. The story then shifts back to Song Ran, who is in the White Room. The dungeons have undergone an evolution and will soon upgrade, resulting in an increased level. The Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, previously a scorching hot desert, suddenly transforms into winter. This unexpected change was due to the evolution of the dungeon. No one could have predicted the snow in the desert. Song Ran eventually reaches the gathering place of the hunters. Xiao Baiyang was relieved to finally spot Song Ran, as she had been searching for him. Upon seeing Song Ran, the leader of the Huangtu Guild approached him and stated that they needed to talk. The head of the Huangtu Guild accused Song Ran of causing the recent changes and, in a fit of anger, grabbed onto Song Ran's clothes. The head reminded Song Ran of a past incident where he had embarrassed the Huangtu Guild during a fight with Lu Meili. As a result of the accusations, Song Ran now had to face the consequences. He calmly released the man's grip and unsheathed his evolved sword. Just as the situation was escalating, a hunter who had undergone an awakening, similar to Song Ran, intervened. This hunter confirmed that the changes in the dungeon were not caused by Song Ran. The hunter then urged everyone to stay focused and prepared for what lay ahead. Mr. Lu questioned the leader of the tribe about the sudden snow in the desert. The elder replied that it was a blessing from the great god Horus, signifying the start of a new, glorious era. Once a benign old man, he was transformed into a monstrous creature. He warned the hunters, who were not pleased with the gifts from the great god, that they posed a threat and would soon feel the monster's wrath. The monster growled that none of the hunter will survive as it prepared to strike down the hunters. The elder, now transformed into a massive dragon monster, loomed over the hunters as he took flight. Yesterday's beast was ready to unleash his fiery wrath, with an attack so potent that it could destroy everything in its path. The situation was rapidly spiraling out of control, and the outcome was uncertain. Mr. Lu emphasized that the top priority at the moment was to uncover the secrets within the pyramid of the god Horus. He requested the aid of any hunters present, and tasked Song Ran and Mr. Luo, who were both experienced awakened hunters, with exploring the pyramid. The rest of the hunters would stay behind to face the dragon beast. Without hesitation, Song Ran and Mr. Luo set off for the god Horus, eager to uncover its mysteries. With the intention of discovering any changes within, Song Ran and Mr. Luo approached the god Horus. However, their journey was interrupted as a flock of flying monsters descended upon them. Song Ran drew his evolution sword, ready for battle, but Mr. Luo calmly suggested that they observe the situation first. As an experienced awakened hunter, Mr. Luo employed his signature move, the flow of perception, to assess the situation. The technique that Mr. Luo utilized was awe-inspiring. With arms outstretched, he unleashed his attack, and the flying monsters blocking their path were no match for its power. Song Ran was left speechless and amazed by Mr. Luo's strength, which was on par with that of several hunter guilds combined. The sheer power Mr. Luo possessed was intimidating, and it dawned on Song Ran that this was the level he needed to aspire to reach his own goals in the future. As they pressed forward, Song Ran and Mr. Luo finally arrived at the entrance to the pyramid of the god Horus. To their surprise, they encountered a monster who, upon closer inspection, turned out to be Suku. The monster addressed Song Ran and asked if he was indeed the person it was looking for. The monster repeated Song Ran's name as it lashed out with a whip, attacking him. Despite the swiftness of the monster's movements, Song Ran was able to deflect the attack. Even Mr. Luo struggled to keep up with the monster's rapid strikes. Song Ran was pushed to the brink by the relentless barrage of attacks, fueled by the monster's hatred for him created from Suku. As the monster's attack closed in, Song Ran activated his phantom skill, allowing the attack to pass harmlessly through him. He quickly turned and leapt away from the monster's grasp. The sight of Suku's current state filled Song Ran with guilt and regret, and he expressed his desire to apologize for what had happened. Though he knew it was unlikely that Suku would be able to forgive him in their current state, he hoped for the best. The monster seemed to be showing signs of Suku's consciousness returning, as it shed tears at Song Ran's words. As the monster started to slow down, Mr. Luo seized the opportunity to unleash his powerful surging water mountain fist skill. The attack was so strong that it sent the monster flying backwards, causing the wall to crumble and break apart. With the defeat of the first phase of the god Horus, the system automatically launched into normal mode. Suku's form was then overtaken by a female monster, the monster god Horus. With a flick of her wrist, she unleashed a powerful skill known as the Divine Dream. This spell enveloped Song Ran, who was caught off guard, in a dreamlike illusion. The change in Song Ran's expression was palpable, as the illusion took hold. Mr. Luo stepped forward, challenging god Horus, demanding that she cease her childish games. But to no avail, as god Horus merely laughed in response. As the monster god Horus attacked, she could feel her power coursing through Song Ran's mind. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned a multitude of whip-like branches from thin air, each under her complete control. Despite the strength of the monster's illusions, Mr. Luo was able to resist and remain unaffected. Meanwhile, Song Ran was trapped within the confines of god Horus' genjutsu, unable to break free or move. The monster posed a dire threat to Song Ran, who was at its mercy. With this in mind, Mr. Luo sprang into action, determined to protect his comrade at all costs. He braced himself for the monster's attack, ready to endure any strike that came his way. Though he couldn't get too close to god Horus, as leaving Song Ran's side would result in almost certain death. Instead, he focused on defending Song Ran, buying time until he could break free from the genjutsu's hold. With a determined look on his face, Mr. Luo unsheathed the sword at his back. Memories of past losses flooded his mind, reminding him of why he had taken up the sword in the first place. To protect those he cared for. As the monster's whip branches closed in on Song Ran, Mr. Luo executed his signature technique, Surging Water Mountain, with his sword. With each slice of his sword, Mr. Luo's technique caused the ground to tremble as if in the grip of an earthquake, breaking the monster's whip branches. The absolute power of a first-echelon hunter enveloped the area around Mr. Luo, protecting those in his vicinity. The monster god Horus taunted Mr. Luo, stating that with such power, she would surely be defeated by a first-echelon hunter. But Mr. Luo's determination to protect others acted as a barrier, limiting his ability to defeat the monster. Although Mr. Luo was more than capable of taking down the monster god Horus with his current strength, he was aware that Song Ran was trapped in the monster's illusory dream. If the controller of the genjutsu were to die before Song Ran woke up, she would be lost in the dream forever. Mr. Luo was faced with a difficult decision. He could easily defeat the monster, but doing so would also mean sacrificing Song Ran. He couldn't bring himself to make that choice. In essence, the outcome of the battle hinged on Song Ran's ability to break free from the genjutsu before Mr. Luo's energy was depleted. As we delve deeper into the dream world, we see Song Ran feeling disoriented and unsure of what has happened to him. God Horus taunts him in the genjutsu, claiming that Mr. Luo is trapped in an illusion and unable to dodge her attacks, when in reality it was Song Ran who had fallen under the monster's spell. As the monster attacked Mr. Luo within Song Ran's dream, her goal was to make Song Ran shield Mr. Luo and be struck by the monster's attack. Just as the attack was about to hit Song Ran, he activated his phantom skill. Grasping his sword, Song Ran effortlessly severed the monster's tentacles. Realizing that it was himself and not Mr. Luo who was affected by the illusion, Song Ran stepped forward to confront the monster. Even though Song Ran was a weak and often belittled individual, but times have changed. Song Ran has transformed into a formidable hunter, revered for his power and strength. Song Ran was aware of the monster's deception, who had claimed that Mr. Luo was struck by an illusion. However, upon witnessing Mr. Luo's current power, Song Ran knew that he was capable of easily defeating God Horus before he could even unleash his genjutsu. The person in front of him was not the real Mr. Luo, but a fake imposter. Undeterred, Song Ran took action and attacked the monster with a swift slash, putting an end to its deceitful ways. Before delivering the final blow, Song Ran asked about Suku's whereabouts. The question elicited a sinister laugh from God Horus. It revealed that Suku had become one with it. Song Ran hesitated, realizing that if he were to slay the monster, Suku would meet the same fate. The monster, sensing Song Ran's hesitation, tried to immobilize him with its tentacles. But Song Ran was a skilled warrior and was able to turn the tentacles to stone with a flick of his wrist, crushing them to pieces. Despite the danger, Song Ran was determined to find a way to save Suku without causing harm to either of them. As the monster relentlessly pursued Song Ran, it prepared to strike with its own hands. But before it could do so, a mysterious portal appeared above them. To Song Ran's surprise, the monster transformed into the real Suku. Song Ran quickly urged Suku to hold on, and promised to save her. Sadly, Suku had fully merged with the deity Horus, and could not be brought back. The system then issued a warning about an impending transformation of the copy. Finally, Suku appeared before Song Ran, only to shortly fade away. She had much she wanted to say, but as she reached her limit, she could only convey her acceptance of Song Ran's apology. The monstrous deity Horus then materialized once more, gazing deeply at Song Ran, who had returned to his former self without his awakened abilities. However, Song Ran proclaimed that he was not the same person he used to be. To Song Ran's surprise, the deity Horus had also lost its power. Despite not having his own evolutionary sword, Song Ran grabbed the monster's head and sliced through it in his illusion. Upon returning to reality, Horus had vanished from view, defeated by Song Ran within the genjutsu world. However, Song Ran was still ignorant of the god Horus style. Mr. Luo reached out to Mr. Lu to inquire about the situation. Despite the dragon monster being defeated, the situation outside appeared to be under control. However, their troubles were far from over, as they were all assigned separate missions to complete within the pyramids. The River City Guild is locked in a fierce battle against Osiris, the final boss and god of the deceased. Meanwhile, the Clover Guild is facing off against Isis, the goddess of life and magic. At another pyramid, the Guild XX is facing the final boss Gu, the god of earth. Meanwhile, the first-class hunter Huang Tu Guild has arrived at the last of the Great Pyramids, the Palace of Anubis. With determination in their hearts, they approached the pyramid and with a mighty push, they threw open the door. The Huang Tu Guild was eager to enter the Pyramid of Anubis, which was the final challenge in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. The pyramid was the largest of all, but the members of the Huang Tu Guild were met with unexpected obstacles as they tried to enter. To their surprise, Wan Feng, who was an awakened hunter and one of their own, refused to enter the pyramid with the rest of the Huang Tu Guild. It was clear that Wan Feng was not brave enough to face the god Anubis. Instead, he had darker intentions. He intended to betray the Hunters Association, caring only for his own power and selfish desires. His ultimate goal was to eliminate all the other hunters and become the strongest. Even Mr. Luo, who was another awakened hunter, was seen as a formidable obstacle in his path to ultimate power. Wan Feng had a sinister plan to activate his awakened mode in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, causing the levels to drastically increase. The changes in the dungeon were all a result of Wan Feng's actions. The story then shifts to the Pyramid of Anubis, where the Huang Tu Guild's hunters were confident in their strength to defeat the final boss. With their skills and abilities, they believed that victory was within their grasp. The Huang-Tu Guild suspected that Wan Feng's absence from the Pyramid of Anubis was not a coincidence. They believed that he had gone back to carry out a massacre in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. Back at the Pyramid of the god Horus, Mr. Lu reported the situation to Mr. Lu. To their surprise, the Huang-Tu Guild had attacked the Pyramid of Anubis. Mr. Lu realized that this meant the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon would end in normal mode and the seal core would open. Mr. Lu began to suspect that something was amiss with Wan Feng. He informed Mr. Lu, revealing that at the same time, Song Ran was still trapped in a genjutsu of god Horus. The story then shifts to Song Ran's illusion, where they received notification that they had successfully defeated god Horus and earned a great reward. Song Ran was bestowed with the title of God Eater, signifying their victory over the gods. While in the illusion, Song Ran received an item that greatly increased their healing power by 5 times, a truly priceless and extraordinary item. This newfound skill would allow Song Ran to become an expert healer in the future. Song Ran was in the process of returning to reality, but was presented with a choice by the system while still within the illusion of god Horus. Song Ran decided to uncover the memories of Suku after the latter had mentioned that there were many of them she wanted to share. However, when Suku appeared before Song Ran, she was too exhausted to fully convey her message. So, instead, Song Ran was shown all of Suku's memories. To cut a long story short, Suku was a research object of the Hunter Association's experiment called Prometheus. This project was the Hunter Association's big secret, as it aimed to grant humans special powers by injecting monster genes into their bodies, so that ordinary people could acquire the strength to become hunters. However, the truth behind the experiment was still a mystery to Song Ran, as the true purpose had yet to be revealed. At the time, Song Ran was faced with a formidable monster. This beast was the hidden boss of the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. The scene then shifted to the River City Guild, where the hunters were in shock as they started to fall and die one by one. The surviving hunters reported the deaths to the guild's chief, who was shocked to hear that one of their members had been killed. Despite the fact that the monsters in the area were not responsible, even the boss monsters had fallen to someone who had severed one of its arms. The hunter who had come to report the news to the guild's head was also overpowered, and the attacker then made a move on the chairman. However, the chairman was quick to dodge and defend himself from the surprise attack. Shadow appeared, revealing the attacker to be someone who was ruthlessly attacking the remaining hunters. In the end, all the hunters there perished. The River City Guild's chairman was heartbroken as he looked at his fallen friends, and he cried out for the attacker to stop the killing. To everyone's surprise, the attacker was revealed to be Wan Feng. He claimed that being a hunter was a form of evil and that killing and becoming a demon brought him pleasure. He then turned his attention to the River City Guild leader and launched an attack. Suddenly, the system appeared and announced that the awakening mode had been activated. Wan Feng was bewildered, as he had not triggered the awakening mode himself. Wan Feng believed that the awakening was triggered by Mr. Lu, who had discovered that Wan Feng had betrayed him. Mr. Lu was determined to secure the essence of the dungeon seal to handle the emergency in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. However, Wan Feng's prediction was wrong. When he tried to activate his awakening, the system did not respond. This meant that the awakening was not controlled by Mr. Lu, as the end mode could not be suppressed. Wan Feng finally realized that the awakening was from Song Ran, who possessed a powerful awakening mode that could not be suppressed by Wan Feng's own awakening. He set off towards Song Ran, with the intention of killing him and stealing the skill item. The River City Guild Master was already under a mental attack and was crying blood, having witnessed the brutal slaughter of his comrades at the hands of Wan Feng. The scene shifts to Mr. Lu, who stands guard at the entrance to the Pyramid of Anubis. Wan Feng is expected to arrive shortly to prevent Song Ran from entering the pyramid. As expected, Wan Feng arrives and confronts Mr. Lu, leading to an inevitable battle between two first-echelon titled hunters who have awakened their powers. The fight between the two strong individuals is bound to be intense. The narrative then returns to Song Ran's subconscious, where he encounters the hidden boss monster, the deity Ra. But to Song Ran's surprise, Ra reveals that he is not hostile and instead presents Song Ran with a fragment item. The scene then shifts to the front of the Pyramid of Anubis, where Wan Feng and Mr. Luo have begun their battle. They display their incredible strength as they engage in an intense exchange of blows. Both being first-echelon hunters, the power they emit is palpable. As they clash and their attacks cause the air to thrum with their power. Mr. Luo, with his exceptional strength, manages to overpower Wan Feng and throws him to the ground. Wan Feng murked Mr. Luo by bringing up his treachery, causing the latter to become incensed. In the heat of the moment, Wan Feng revealed his hidden ability and managed to wound Mr. Luo, leaving him stunned at Wan Feng's newfound strength. Just as the tension reached its peak, Song Ran appeared on the scene, imploring the two to cease their altercation. However, upon seeing Song Ran, Wan Feng swiftly advanced towards him, his killing intent palpable. As Wan Feng approached Song Ran, Mr. Luo unleashed his ultimate ability, a force so powerful it caused the ground to shake like an earthquake. The skill effectively diverted Wan Feng's attention, and he turned to face Mr. Luo. Mr. Luo then informed Song Ran that Wan Feng was a traitor. Despite Mr. Luo's vow to hold Wan Feng at bay, Song Ran quickly hastened to the Anubis pyramid, with Mr. Luo declaring that he was their only hope in defeating the menacing Anubis. As Mr. Luo and Wan Feng clashed, the latter managed to surprise Mr. Luo and with a swift slash, beheaded him. Wan Feng's strength was truly remarkable. Meanwhile, Song Ran continued his journey through the Anubis pyramid. Inside the pyramid, the Huangtu Guild was struggling to keep up as the situation spiraled out of control. Despite being on the brink of victory, Anubis' power surged and the tide of the battle turned against them. Anubis had become even more formidable, his strength amplified by the transformative power of the awakening dungeon. As the deputy captain of the Huangtu Guild tried to convince the guild master to have their hunters take a step back and rest, the guild master was resolute in their decision. The Huangtu Guild would not back down. The hunters who were near the fearsome monster, Anubis, were marked for death. To possess that mark meant to be Anubis' primary target. Despite this, the hunters bravely advanced, hoping to defeat Anubis. However, as they approached, the monster only grew stronger. Anubis underwent a transformation, evolving into its second stage. A pair of wings emerged from its body, and with a flick of its wings, it took to the sky. Anubis cast its magic from above, raining destruction upon the hunters below. The magic that the great god Anubis wielded was the deadly art of death magic. The hunters who were unfortunate enough to be in its path were met with its terrible power. Recognizing the danger they were in, they decided to retreat immediately. However, just as they were about to make their escape, Song Ran appeared on the scene. The head of the Huangtu Guild urged his companions to back away and escape the dangerous wrath of Anubis. The Huangtu Guild had a long-standing grudge against Song Ran, and when they retreated, their leader saw an opportunity for revenge. The leader ordered their mage to launch a sneak attack from behind, unleashing all their pent-up hatred onto Song Ran. But the attack ended up hitting Anubis and marking Song Ran as its primary target. The Huangtu Guild wanted Song Ran dead, even if it wasn't by their own hands. Anubis then cast its deadly magic towards Song Ran, but Song Ran was quick enough to dodge it. With a sneer, Song Ran declared that the Huangtu Guild was truly a band of cowards. With determination in his eyes, Song Ran activated a powerful artifact known as the God Eater. This item enhanced his strength and allowed him to leap towards Anubis, who was soaring through the air. With a graceful movement, Song Ran managed to strike Anubis, causing the monster to reel in pain. Anubis retaliated with a powerful attack, but Song Ran deftly used his phantom skill to dodge, causing the monster's attack to collide with a pyramid pillar instead. The impact of the attack caused the pyramid to crumble, the roof collapsing in a shower of rubble. Despite the chaos, Song Ran remained nimble and was able to dodge the falling debris, avoiding being crushed by the collapsing building. With fluid movements, Song Ran navigated the rubble that surrounded him, and with the remaining mana in his body, he launched a full-force attack on Anubis. With precision, Song Ran hit Anubis' weak spot, causing the monster to revert back to its normal form. Anubis' wings were injured and the monster could no longer fly. The Huangtu Guild was taken aback by Song Ran's impressive display of power and skill. They never expected that Song Ran would emerge as such a formidable hunter. Despite having the death mark still on his head, Song Ran stood his ground as Anubis began to rise from the ruins once more. To recover his strength, Song Ran used a healing skill. Enraged by being pushed down, Anubis moved towards Song Ran, who was prepared with his evolutionary sword. With his sword in hand, Song Ran expertly fended off Anubis' attack and the two engaged in an intense one-on-one battle. The battle between Song Ran and Anubis was fierce and intense, as they exchanged powerful blows that further destroyed the pyramid. The Huangtu Guild watched in shock as the once majestic structure crumbled before their eyes. The system then announced that Anubis had successfully regained his strength, and his wings had reappeared, allowing him to once again soar through the air. As Anubis approached to attack, Song Ran declared his determination to defeat him and return him to his original form. The story then shifts to outside the pyramid where Mr. Luo, who was badly hurt from Wan Feng's attack, is seen. Wan Feng chuckled at the sight of Mr. Luo's defeat. However, Mr. Luo silenced him with a firm statement of his confidence in Song Ran's abilities to conquer the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. Mr. Luo unlocked his forbidden mode, tapping into the special powers of hunters who awaken the monster gene within them. This power can consume the hunter's consciousness, but Mr. Luo was determined to stop Wan Feng from interfering with Song Ran's intense battle against Anubis. Despite his injuries, he used his strength to hold back Wan Feng and protect Song Ran. As Wan Feng approached Mr. Luo prepared to defend himself by activating his powerful area skill. The skill was so intense that it caused the ground around it to crack and crumble, injuring Wan Feng and sending him flying backwards. Despite the setback, Wan Feng continued to provoke Mr. Luo, egging him on for a serious fight. As Wan Feng continued to taunt Mr. Luo, he unleashed his Shadow Assassin skill, allowing him to vanish from sight. This skill was similar to Song Ran's Phantom skill, making it difficult for Mr. Luo to track him. However, Mr. Luo remained focused and stood his ground, disregarding Wan Feng's insults about him being thrown out of the Hunter Association and deemed a pathetic outcast. As the battle between Mr. Luo and Wan Feng intensified, Mr. Luo declared that one of them must die. Wan Feng moved with lightning speed and prepared to strike Mr. Luo with his assassin sword. Meanwhile, inside the pyramid, Song Ran continued his fierce fight against Anubis, determined to defeat the monster. As the fight between Song Ran and Anubis raged on, the hunters from the Huangtu Guild watched in awe at the sheer power and strength displayed by Song Ran. Despite battling for a prolonged period, Song Ran still managed to maintain an immense level of power, exchanging blows with the monstrous Anubis. The god monster was at its strongest, but Song Ran was equal to the task, pushing back against its relentless attacks. As the fight raged on, Song Ran displayed his mastery in combat and broke through the defenses of the god Anubis, putting the monster into execution mode. This presented Song Ran with an opportunity to end the dungeon quickly by executing the monster himself. The head of the Huangtu Guild was taken aback by Song Ran's swift progress, and even entertained the thought of Song Ran finishing the final boss on his own. However, he had ulterior motives as he aimed to execute the Anubis monster before Song Ran could, so he could obtain the god's items for himself. As the head of the Huangtu Guild approached Anubis, he brandished his powerful weapons and launched an attack on the monster. However, much to his surprise, his attacks failed to penetrate Anubis's defenses, despite the monster being in its vulnerable execution mode. The god beast retaliated and with a swift strike, threw the guild leader into the pyramid wall with such force that it crumbled to pieces. As the head of the Huangtu Guild lay stunned against the pyramid wall, the god Anubis was filled with rage and conjured a dazzling spear of light. With lightning speed, the beast launched the weapon at the head of the guild, causing alarm among his followers. Song Ran, who had witnessed the entire incident, was completely stunned. Why was Anubis able to retaliate even though it was supposed to be in its execution mode? The powerful monster then turned away from Song Ran and made its way back to its throne, leaving the young hunter in disbelief. Settled upon his throne, the mighty god Anubis stirred to action. A brilliant yellow light filled the air as lightning crackled into the pyramid of Anubis. The monster within had awakened its strongest form. A warning echoed through the halls, announcing the transformation of Anubis into his final, most powerful mode. In response, the hunters stationed within the pyramid of Anubis braced themselves, readying their defensive shields. They knew that Anubis would soon unleash his ultimate skills. All the mages present were called upon to activate their own defensive shields, steeling themselves for the impending attack from the great god Anubis. The ultimate attack from the monster had begun. Its strength was so immense that it shattered the pyramid of Anubis. The radiance from the attack even reached the other pyramids nearby. Song Ran stood steadfast, blocking the monster's attack. Outside the pyramid, Wan Feng and Mr. Lu felt the effects of the god Anubis' ultimate power. Song Ran staggered back, and it was clear that the god Anubis had changed in appearance. This was the final form of the monster god. The hunters of the Huangtu Guild had no choice but to flee, unable to withstand the monster's power. The hunters were seen fleeing from Anubis, running for their lives. Song Ran then pulled out a young item that he had obtained from the god Ra during his journey in the genjutsu of the god Horus. With the item, Song Ran would gain more power. As he held the item, Song Ran remembered the message from the god Ra. The god had tasked Song Ran with ending the fight and sealing the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon forever. Despite the fact that Song Ran's abilities would grow stronger with the use of certain items, there was a cost to be paid for this power. Once activated, the items would drain all of Song Ran's remaining strength, leaving him weak and fatigued. However, Song Ran saw this as a small sacrifice for the greater good of humanity. As Song Ran activated the item, an impressive aura surrounded him, transforming him into the legendary mode of God Ra. He felt a rush of immense power flow through his body, growing stronger with each passing moment. The hunters of the Huangtu Guild were in a frenzied state, desperately trying to escape and save themselves from the wrath of the powerful god Anubis. Suddenly, Song Ran appeared on the scene, moving with lightning speed as he weaved his way through the panicked hunters. With swift and precise movements, Song Ran sprang into action, coming to the aid of those who were being threatened by the god. Despite the god's quick attack speed, Song Ran's movements were even faster, allowing him to intercept the attacks and protect the hunters. The monster god Anubis was taken aback as he laid eyes on Song Ran, who possessed the strength of the legendary god Ra from the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. Anubis couldn't believe that an ordinary human could have the power he claimed was exclusive to the gods of the dungeon. In a fit of anger, Anubis launched an attack on Song Ran, who proved to be quick on his feet, dodging all of the god's strikes with ease. The hunters of the Huangtu Guild watched in awe as Song Ran displayed his incredible power, but at the same time, they wondered how long he could maintain this god mode. The stakes were high as Song Ran faced the monstrous Anubis, for if he were to revert back to his human form before defeating the god, the pyramid would become their shared tomb. Enraged, Anubis unleashed a barrage of laser beams from his eyes, but Song Ran was too quick, effortlessly dodging each and every attack. With a mighty leap, Song Ran took to the air, moving at incredible speeds even as he was suspended mid-flight. His agility allowed him to evade the attacks of the monsters and bring him closer to his ultimate goal, defeating Anubis. It was as if time stood still as Song Ran unleashed his ultimate move, the Dance of Blue Dragon. With lightning speed, multiple versions of Song Ran appeared simultaneously in front of the monsters, each delivering a powerful strike. Song Ran summoned all his strength, channeling it into one final, devastating blow. The attack was so intense that it brought an end to the monstrous god Anubis, who crumbled under the force and exploded into dust. The hunters of the Huangtu Guild looked on in awe as they witnessed the incredible might of Song Ran. The display of strength left those who witnessed it speechless and in awe. Suddenly, a system notification appeared, congratulating all the hunters on their victory over the final boss god, Anubis, and the subsequent closing of the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. After the dungeon had come to an end, Xiao Bai asked Mr. Lu about the guild that had defeated the powerful Anubis. Mr. Lu responded that the Huangtu Guild had previously sent a message saying they would be retreating from the battle against Anubis. However, it was actually Song Ran who emerged as the victor. A system notification suddenly appeared in front of Song Ran, showing that he had defeated Anubis single-handedly, meaning all the rewards would be granted solely to him. As Song Ran attempted to claim and distribute his rewards, his consciousness started to fade away as his mana depleted. Despite this, he managed to press the yes button on the status windows, which resulted in a successful upgrade to his sword. The other hunters in the dungeon began the process of returning to their human form as the countdown from 5 to 1 began, and the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon closed permanently. Those who survived in the dungeon were able to successfully return to the human world. As Song Ran's consciousness faded, he asked Xiao Bai to hand over the sealing core of the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon to someone, but before he could do so, Song Ran lost consciousness. The system then announced the successful closure of the dungeon, thanks to Song Ran's valiant efforts. Despite being unconscious, Song Ran's bravery will always be remembered. As the aftermath of the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon played out, the turncoat Wan Feng made a hasty escape from the Hunter Assembly. His treacherous actions earned him a worldwide criminal label from the Hunter Association. In an attempt to secure the sealing core obtained from the dungeon, the Hunter Association assembled a team of their strongest members. However, their raid was unsuccessful due to a traitor among the hunters. The result was a surge of powerful monsters breaking free from the dungeon and attacking the city of Song Ran, leaving it in ruins. After the devastation of the city, a heartbroken man ventured into dungeon siege on his own and emerged victorious. He single-handedly defeated all the monsters within and brought an end to dungeon siege. This man was known as Mr. Traitor. Fast forward 3 months after the conclusion of the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, and a new city had been built to provide a fresh start for the people. The scene shifts to a hospital in the new city, where Song Ran was being treated and recovering from his injuries. Song Ran had been in a deep slumber for 3 long months, but he was now awake and alert. His eyes fluttered open and he took in his surroundings, noticing that his friends Xiao Bai and Xian were by his side, keeping watch and providing care. Confused, Song Ran asked where he was and was informed that he was in a hospital, having been in a coma for 3 months. They filled him in on the events that had transpired in his hometown during his unconscious state. Upon learning of the destruction that had ravaged the city where he once lived, Song Ran was filled with shock and disbelief. Yet, he found solace in the comfort offered by his friends. The situation was further complicated as Song Ran had been homeless prior to the disaster, leaving him with nowhere to call home. As he struggled to find a solution, Mr. Liu from the Hunter Association paid him a visit. Mr. Liu explained that while Song Ran was in a coma, the association's director, Zhao Jingyan, had been insisting on meeting with him once he awakened. Slowly, as the reality of the situation set in, Song Ran began to come to terms with his new reality. Jingyan had something important to share with Song Ran, and Mr. Liu informed him that he would be visiting him after his discharge from the hospital. He asked Xiao Bai and Si Yan not to disturb Song Ran, who had just awakened from his coma. The news came as a disappointment to both friends, as they had hoped to celebrate Song Ran's recovery by going out to eat together. However, their plans were thwarted as Song Ran was to be taken directly to see Director Jingyan. The friends looked crestfallen at the change of plans. Si Yan then whispered to Song Ran the words Room 317. The mention of this room caught Song Ran off guard, leading him to believe that there must be some hidden meaning or clue behind it. In due time, Song Ran arrived at the Hunter Association as promised, where he was greeted with cautious hospitality by its members. The scene was set with a smiling Song Ran finally coming face to face with Jingyan. Jingyan explained to Song Ran that due to his impressive strength displayed in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, the association was interested in recruiting him as a police officer or hunter security guard tasked with pursuing criminal hunters. The association felt that after his performance in the dungeon, Song Ran was entitled to know more, and perhaps even uncover the truth behind his mother's death. Song Ran was initially encouraged by the association's offer of information regarding his mother's death. However, he soon began to question their motives, wondering why they wouldn't have just told him the truth from the start if they truly believed it to be credible. Throughout his experiences in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, Song Ran felt that the Hunter Association was only using him to obtain the sealing core. In search of information about his mother's death, Song Ran believed it to be a closely guarded secret that only those with high authority could uncover. However, as he learned about the gene factor of monsters, Suku's cruel experiments, and the Sky Tower, Song Ran began to realize that the truth was far more complicated and dangerous than he originally thought. It was not just a secret about his mother's death, but a larger, overarching truth about the true purpose of the Global Elite Hunter Association. Song Ran was skeptical of the Hunter Association's intentions and believed that they would not reveal the truth about his mother's death to him. He ultimately chose to decline their offer and remain an ordinary hunter. However, his decision was interrupted by a man who stormed into the room with his entourage. The man was a high-ranking member of the Hunter Association and warned Song Ran to be careful with his words. However, Jingyan requested a moment to finish speaking with Song Ran. Despite her pleas, she was forcibly taken away by the man's subordinates. The stranger then revealed himself as He Tianji, the leader of the Hunter Police in S City, a newly established town under Song Ran's control. He Tianji was also a renowned hunter who had been appointed as the head of the Security Association. Tianji went straight to the business at hand and asked about Suku's conversation with Song Ran during their time in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. This was when Song Ran began to piece together the truth. The Hunter Association had recruited Song Ran to keep tabs on him because he had acquired knowledge of their hazardous experiments. This information, if leaked, would pose a threat to the association. Song Ran informed them that Suku hadn't disclosed anything during their meeting, stating that she only expressed her intention to kill him and seek revenge. Additionally, Song Ran exposed the lie about Room 317, which Si Yan had previously mentioned, and revealed it was fabricated by Mr. Liu. Tianji and Song Ran were having a conversation about the skills Song Ran used in his battle against the Anubis monster. Song Ran claimed that the power he used appeared when the system was in chaos, and that he obtained a fragment from the deity, God Ra. This explanation made Tianji angry, as he believed it to be nonsense. He stated that he had multiple ways of verifying the truth. Song Ran questioned why Tianji was asking about it if he already knew the answers. Tianji then laughed and revealed that he had done what was necessary, mentioning that their conversation was being monitored by the deputy chairman of the Global Hunter Elite from a remote location. Song Ran was with Jingyan, when a man approached them and requested that Jingyan transfer Song Ran to the next checkpoint. Song Ran was then taken by the Hunter Association and was placed under their surveillance. Jingyan asked Song Ran to trust her, assuring him that she was on his side. Despite her pleas, Song Ran remained indifferent and did not respond. Suddenly, their car was ambushed, and they immediately called for assistance from the association headquarters, as they were under attack. Through the rearview mirror, a car was seen chasing them, and it was uncertain if it was the source of the ambush. A high-speed chase ensued on a bridge in the city, with a mysterious figure observing the situation from above. The man then launched a lightning strike on the pursuing car, causing it to flip over. He then targeted Song Ran's car, delivering a devastating blow that knocked both passengers unconscious. The identity of the attacker was unknown as he approached the wreckage of Song Ran's car. The condition of the passengers was yet to be determined. As the mysterious man approached the wreckage, Song Ran suddenly appeared behind him, having used his phantom skill. Despite the Hunter Association rules forbidding the use of ghost powers outside of dungeons when a hunter's life is threatened, Song Ran had activated his power. He questioned the man's identity and was challenged in return, with the man claiming to have saved Song Ran's life. The man revealed that his group, the Mercury Cup, sought to liberate Song Ran from the control of the Hunter Association. He invited Song Ran to join them if he was interested in facing them. The man was clearly not ordinary, possessing remarkable strength. Jingyan emerged from the overturned car, badly injured, and called out to Song Ran, attempting to say something important. Despite Jingyan's attempts, Song Ran remained indifferent and was ready to leave. In that moment, Jingyan revealed the truth behind Song Ran's mother's death. Unfortunately, Jingyan was in a critical condition after the car attack. Jingyan revealed that Song Ran's mother had been killed by his own father. She had been privy to the information because she was once a subordinate of Song Ran's father. However, one day, his father suddenly went on a rampage, triggered by the monster gene factor, and was eventually sent to the Sky Tower. Upon hearing this, Song Ran felt a wave of annoyance and hatred towards his father. The scene then shifted to a convenience store. 3 days after shopping at the convenience store, a shocking news broke out about the murder and assault on the Hunter Association. To everyone's surprise, Song Ran was named as the prime suspect in the incident, which had led to the death of 3 individuals from the association, including Jingyan. The accusations pointed towards Song Ran for causing a horrific accident on the flyover bridge and taking the lives of 3 innocent people. The investigation conducted by the Hunter Association police led them to conclude that Song Ran was responsible for the murder and assault. This was despite the fact that Song Ran had previously been hailed as a hero for successfully closing the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon, thanks to his bravery and strength. The media speculated that the attack was a result of Wan Feng's treachery in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. The Hunter Association used this opportunity to spread false information about Song Ran and restrict his movements, as he had acquired sensitive information from the association. Song Ran was in disbelief as he found himself on the run from the very organization he had dedicated his life to serve as a hunter. He was now considered a level A criminal, accused of causing a fatal accident on a flyover bridge and killing 3 members of the Hunter Association, despite being a hero just days prior for closing the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. The media and the Hunter Association had slandered Song Ran, spreading false information about his supposed involvement with a betrayal in the dungeon. For 3 days, Song Ran was constantly on the move, struggling to find basic necessities and a place to rest. He felt like a hunted animal, ironical for a hero who had just completed a major mission. But he finally found a secluded inn, where he could hide for a while and gather his thoughts. The Mercury Cup group, who had their own agenda against the Hunter Association, allowed Song Ran to remain free as they posed a threat to the organization's secrets. Song Ran reflected on his meeting with Sun Wu prior to entering the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. He remembered Sun Wu taught him how to create a mini portal, granting him the freedom to enter any dungeon at will. With this newfound ability, Song Ran utilized it to access the Sky Tower and officially declared war on the Hunter Association. Inside the Sky Tower, he bravely faced the monsters and showed his determination to fight against the association. With his increased strength and enhanced abilities, Song Ran easily overpowered all the insect monsters in the Sky Tower. Defeating the pests was effortless, almost like cutting vegetables. He had reached the 30th level of the Sky Tower, and showed no signs of slowing down. Armed with the formidable level 6 evolutionary sword and the revered title of the God Eater, Song Ran stepped into the Sky Tower with a sense of purpose. He sought answers to the mysteries surrounding his father, and was determined to uncover the truth. As he delved deeper into the tower, he encountered the level 30 final boss, a swordsman known as the Swinging Soul Swordsman. However, this encounter was unlike any Song Ran had experienced before. The boss challenged him, taunting him to prove his worth. Song Ran was not one to back down, and he readied himself for the ultimate showdown. With his trusty sword in hand, he prepared to face his ultimate test and emerge as the true God Eater. With a fierce growl, The monster lifted its sword, ready to strike. A master swordsman, it unleashed a stunning display of skill and power. Song Ran was impressed, but not intimidated. With lightning-fast reflexes, he effortlessly dodged the monster's attack and closed in for the counter-strike. In a blur of motion, Song Ran vanished from before the monster's eyes and reappeared on top of it, catching it off guard. The monster felt a strange sensation, sensing that Song Ran was not a mere opponent, but a true master of the sword. The monster's eyes were filled with a familiar recognition, as if it had a deep connection with Song Ran. Its consciousness was jogged, bringing back memories of its previous life as a human. Soaring high in the air, Song Ran swung his sword with a final farewell to the defeated boss. He struck with the power of a true champion, vanquishing the monster and unlocking the truth about their shared past. The monster felt the full force of Song Ran's sword, recognizing it as a source of hope for all monsters. With its final breath, it acknowledged Song Ran as a true master of the sword, one who would bring light to the darkness and bring peace to a troubled world. The monster gazed up at Song Ran, and with a soft voice, asked for his name. Song Ran introduced himself, and as he spoke, the monster's eyes lit up with recognition. It then made a request, urging Song Ran to rise above and become stronger. In the monster's eyes, Song Ran was not just a victor, but also an old friend, and it saw a glimmer of hope in him. The monster's words echoed in Song Ran's mind as he stood above, proud and determined to fulfill his destiny as a true hero. Just as the monster was about to reveal something important to Song Ran, a female guardian of the Sky Tower suddenly appeared, disrupting their conversation. She informed Song Ran that the Hunter Association had caught wind of his presence in the Sky Tower, and warned him to abandon his invasion before the authorities caught up with him. The guardian, with a wave of her hand, opened a portal for Song Ran's escape. Knowing that he didn't want to add to his already growing list of problems, Song Ran quickly stepped through the portal and disappeared from the Sky Tower. Once Song Ran was gone, the female guardian turned her gaze to the defeated final boss. She inquired about the key that the monster had mentioned to Song Ran. The guardian then raised her hand towards the monster and declared that it would soon be reset, implying that the final boss had gained consciousness and its memories were starting to resurface, endangering the secret information it held. The female guardian then told the final boss that she wouldn't be able to keep its awakening from the eyes of the void and that it was doomed to be reset as a monster again. With a flick of her wrist, she ended the monster's existence, leaving behind only the chilling reminder of the terrible power hidden behind her seemingly beautiful form, power that was even too terrible for a monster to withstand. As Song Ran emerged from the portal of the Sky Tower, he was met by the Hunter police who aimed to capture and detain him. However, Song Ran effortlessly evaded their attempts and countered with a swift kick to one of the officers. Just as the situation escalated, a fireball attack came flying into the room from an unknown source. Song Ran gracefully dodged the attack, which resulted in the room exploding into a raging inferno. The Hunter police accused Song Ran of killing Jingyan, forcing him to defend himself against their accusations. Despite avoiding their assaults, Song Ran was thrown back. He implored the hunters to not make him resort to violence, but they disregarded his plea, perceiving it as arrogance. The hunters continued their aggression towards Song Ran. The hunter stood in front of Song Ran, intent on striking him. However, Song Ran's quick reflexes allowed him to dodge the attack with ease. The leader of the hunter ambush team was taken aback by Song Ran's impressive strength, despite his young age. They realized that if they didn't act quickly, Song Ran would pose a major threat in the future. The hunters were determined to kill Song Ran as he refused to cooperate with them. With lightning speed, the man unleashed his skill, demon sealing 1,000 arrows, sending a barrage of light-like arrows towards Song Ran. Despite the intense attack, Song Ran expertly dodged each one. In a matter of moments, Song Ran swiftly took out 2 of the ambush team's members and confronted their leader. The man was stunned by Song Ran's strength and didn't even have a chance to react before Song Ran took him down in one swift blow. The ambush team sent by the association was no match for Song Ran, who easily defeated all of his enemies in an astonishing display of power. The weather was a reflection of the situation for Song Ran, who was in the midst of a thunderstorm. Meanwhile, Si Yen and his guildmates were gathered at his residence, worrying about the fate of Song Ran, who they had not heard from since he was taken into custody by the Hunter Association. News of the incident, where Song Ran was accused of causing an accident, had just reached them and they were unable to piece together the truth. A knock on the window jolted them from their thoughts. When they opened it, they were surprised to find Song Ran standing at their doorstep. They welcomed him with open arms and offered him a drink, which he gratefully accepted. Song Ran took a sip and was taken aback by its delicious taste, realizing he hadn't tasted anything like it in a long time. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he thanked his friends for the warm reception. As they settled in, Song Ran's friends were eager to catch up on all that had transpired in his life since his departure. They chatted about his journey and how he had become a successful wholesaler. But the conversation took a turn when they delved into more secretive topics such as the monster gene factor and the banned Prometheus project. They were both fascinated and shocked by the information that was shared between them. Cien, who was curious about Song Ran's future plans, asked him about his next steps. However, Song Ran was uncertain about his future as the Hunter Association was hot on his trail, and he was no longer able to enter the dungeon. Hiding was not a sustainable option, as he knew he would eventually be caught. Just as they were pondering the dilemma, their status window suddenly popped up with a message that read 57 Chunhu Road, tell Song Ran. The next day, Song Ran went to the designated location, and as he arrived, he was confronted by a figure he recognized as Chi Siyuan, a fellow hunter. Song Ran was taken aback when he saw Siyuan at that place, and wondered why he was there. To his surprise, Siyuan wanted to kill him. This was a complete shock to Song Ran, as he had no issues with the man during their time in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. Siyuan was a hunter who fought alongside Song Ran in the dungeon, and was also the leader of the River City Guild. In the past, Wan Feng had killed all members of River City Guild in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. When Song Ran encountered Siyuan, he was bewildered by the man's sudden appearance and intention to harm him. He attempted to have a peaceful conversation with Siyuan to understand the source of their conflict, but Siyuan showed no interest. He claimed that with his awakened power, he had the choice to be either good or evil. Siyuan then unsheathed his sword and inflicted a wound on Song Ran. It was no surprise that Siyuan possessed such immense strength, as it was revealed that he was a diamond-level hunter. Song Ran quickly used his healing skill to treat his injury, and then grabbed his sword, ready to engage in a serious battle. Without hesitation, he launched an attack on the hunter. The two of them engaged in a heated exchange of blows, with Siyuan even laughing and relishing the fight. Siyuan attempted to attack Song Ran with his skill, Wind Sword Recast, but it was effectively blocked by Song Ran. With a swift kick, Song Ran sent Siyuan flying back. As Siyuan lay on the ground, Song Ran approached him. He asked why Siyuan had become so bloodthirsty, and suggested that it could be the result of the monster gene within him. Song Ran pointed out that their fates were intertwined, as they had both experienced immense sorrow over the loss of their friends to their enemies. Song Ran raised his sword, ready to end the fight, but before he could strike, Siyuan activated his defensive skill. However, the barrier proved no match for Song Ran's powerful sword strike. With no escape in sight, Siyuan was at a loss for what to do. But to Song Ran's surprise, Siyuan declared that this time, Song Ran was truly intent on killing him. He hoped that Song Ran would pass the test. Song Ran was taken aback by Siyuan's words and wondered what he meant. After the fight, Siyuan revealed that he had given up on being a hunter but would never give up on awakening his strength. He was determined to seek revenge on Wan Feng for killing all of his guildmates in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. Siyuan then informed Song Ran that he was now considered a top-level criminal, and would have no place in society. The reason for Siyuan's visit was to invite Song Ran to a place where they could be free from the Hunter Association. But he warned that in this place, strength and the willingness to kill were necessary for survival. Siyuan came to test Song Ran, and he did not disappoint. That place was called the Land of Exile, a sanctuary for criminals and outcasts. Song Ran and Siyuan then headed to Siyan's house to further discuss their plans. Siyuan stated his intention to bring Song Ran along with him to the Land of Exile in order to help him seek revenge on Wan Feng. In return, Song Ran agreed to assist Siyuan in achieving his own goals. The two of them eventually came to an agreement to work together towards their common goals. In a nutshell, the two of them set out for the Land of Exile, taking a car for their journey. Siyuan explained that the land was a place where criminals and exiles from all over the world gather and live without any laws or regulations. It is a place where people act according to their own desires and instincts, similar to beasts. Although the land is not recognized by any government, its residents engage in black market transactions with different countries. The two of them might not be able to return once they arrive. Siyuan asked Song Ran to leave his past behind and embrace this new chapter in their lives. But Song Ran refused to say goodbye to his past, for he saw his memories as a part of his life's journey, and he was not willing to let them go. As they arrived at the entrance of the Land of Exile, they were inspected by the regional officers. However, while they were handing over their identity cards, Song Ran noticed the woman with pink hair secretly monitoring their situation. Suddenly, she sneaked into their car. Despite the unexpected passenger, Song Ran and Siyuan passed the inspection and were granted permission to enter the land of exile, where they would encounter a world of criminals, exiles, and lawlessness. In this place where anything goes, Song Ran and Siyuan would embark on their quest to take down their common enemy and fulfill their respective goals. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Mr. Trader, who had instructed the identity check team to keep Song Ran's arrival a secret from the Hunter Association. Song Ran and Siyuan continued their journey to the land of exile, guided by the directions on Google Maps given to them by Sun Hao. They were expecting to meet someone along the way. However, they were interrupted by the sudden appearance of a mysterious woman who had snuck into their car earlier. Song Ran turned to the woman and asked if she too was headed to the land of exile. The woman then revealed that she was armed with a dangerous grenade bomb that could be detonated at any moment. The woman demanded to be taken to the land of exile, threatening to carry out suicide bombings if Song Ran and Siyuan declined to accompany her. Despite the threat, Song Ran and Siyuan remained composed, confident in their ability to neutralize any potential danger before it escalated. The woman then shook her head in disbelief. Suddenly, their car was blocked by an individual, and they hit them in the process. The person appeared irritated, having been struck by the vehicle driven by Song Ran and Siyuan. To their surprise, they soon discovered that their car had been intercepted by a group of 3 robbers. The robber commanded everyone in the car to exit the vehicle immediately. In response, the woman rolled down her window. When the robber demanded money from her, she handed over a grenade, causing it to explode and engulf the robber in flames. Song Ran and Siyuan, who were witnessing the scene, were taken aback and couldn't help but display expressions of surprise. The robber then asked his accomplice if he looked unusual, to which they replied that they could not see any difference despite the robber's face having been charred black by the explosion and his hair disheveled. After the explosion, Song Ran and the others stepped out of the car, seething with anger at having been toyed with by the grenade. They intended to take revenge on the woman, but what they discovered next was completely unexpected. The woman was actually a skilled hunter, as evidenced by the sword she was now brandishing. Even Song Ran and Siyuan were shocked by this revelation. The woman was prepared to face off against the robbers who had confronted them, ready for battle. The robbers initiated the fight, but the woman was not to be underestimated. The woman expertly deflected the robbers' attacks with her sword, even managing to strike one of them down. The robbers attempted to attack her together, but before they could reach her, a sudden lightning strike from Siyuan slashed through them. One of the robbers' arms was even severed. It was clear that Siyuan was also fighting against the robbers, using his lightning strikes with ease to defeat the robbers in just one swift move. Eventually, the group of robbers was defeated. Siyuan proclaimed that a true man would not stand by and watch a woman be bullied. The woman praised Siyuan for being a real man, in stark contrast to the weak individual she had previously seen. The woman then conducted a search of the robbers and uncovered their identities. It was revealed that they were members of the notorious group known as the Stellar Rain Corporation. Song Ran asked the woman about the identity of the robbers. She informed him that the Stellar Rain Corporation was one of the prominent organizations in the land of exile, with a focus on weapons and technology. The woman was confused as to why members of such a prominent group were resorting to robbery, but they did not dwell on it further. She then introduced herself to Song Ran and Siyuan as a libertarian named Selway. Libertarians believe in the land of exile as a bastion of liberty, not merely a means of financial gain. Song Ran posed the question to Selway, curious as to why she had covertly boarded their vehicle despite her reputation as a skilled huntress. Selway's response was simple: she lacked the necessary permit to traverse the land of exile and intended to return to her homeland once she had entered its borders. Arriving in Ruger Town in the evening, Song Ran and Selway pulled over at a nearby bar. The new bartender informed them that the establishment was fully booked for the night, but Selway was determined to meet the owner and asked the bartender to call him. Suddenly, a young girl approached Selway, embracing her and addressing her as Big Sister. The girl inquired if Selway still remembered the promise she had made, eliciting a heartwarming reunion between the two. It was revealed that Selway had made a vow to the girl to buy her a special birthday present. With a smile, Selway presented the gift to the girl, who was overjoyed and gratefully thanked Selway. The girl exclaimed that she would wait until noon to open the present, as it was a precious offering from Selway. The manager of the inn informed Song Ran and Selway that all rooms were fully booked, but they could rest in a back room. Just as they were about to accept the offer, a man interrupted their conversation, declaring that Selway could stay, but Song Ran and Siyuan could not. This statement irked Siyuan, causing him to grow angry and confront the man. However, Song Ran calmly reminded them of their purpose in coming to the place to meet with someone from the Deacon Light Corporation, as previously arranged. Despite the information they had received, the representatives of the corporation claimed to have no knowledge of Song Ran and his companions. Frustration mounting, the trio were ready to leave when the person they were searching for finally appeared. The chairman of the Deacon Light Corporation approached Song Ran and his companions, apologizing for the current difficulties his business was facing. As they were discussing the situation, a menacing group of individuals burst into the room, threatening the corporation and declaring that the premises were surrounded. The group demanded that the chairman surrender the information to them immediately or face dire consequences. The informants of the Deacon Light Corporation were left bewildered by the sudden intrusion of the strong mercenaries. In an attempt to avoid a disturbance, the chairman asked to have a peaceful conversation. However, the leader of the mercenaries showed no mercy, ruthlessly kicking the bar owner to the ground. Witnessing her father being attacked, the young girl bravely ran to her father's side, filled with anger and frustration. In the moment of violence, the young girl was also struck by the mercenary leader. As she fell to the ground, her precious birthday gift tumbled out of her grasp. The leader approached the fallen gift and took it for himself, despite the girl's pleas to return it. With cruel disregard, he savagely destroyed the gift right before the girl's eyes. Despite the heartbreaking scene, Song Ran and Selway remained silent, watching in shock. The leader revealed that his objective was to obtain a rare crystal that the Deacon Light Corporation planned to sell, and that it was highly sought after by him and his group. Suddenly, Song Ran vanished from Selway's side, revealing that he had stealthily moved to attack the man's minions who were lurking behind him. With lightning speed, Song Ran effortlessly took down all of the man's henchmen, and quickly positioned himself behind the unsuspecting man. In a sudden turn of events, Song Ran attacked the man's subordinates with ease. The onlookers were astounded by Song Ran's strength and ability to defeat the hired fighters with such speed. Selway was caught off guard. She had not expected Song Ran to be so powerful. Song Ran approached the girl and tried to comfort her. He promised to give her a better birthday present in the future, and the girl asked him to keep his promise. Little did Song Ran know, this act of bravery would lead him to a life in exile, in a place that wouldn't bring him peace. After successfully stopping chaos at the bar, the owner showed his gratitude by offering free drinks to all patrons. Song Ran and his friends took advantage of the offer and stayed the night to rest. Selway praised Song Ran's bravery and strength in defeating the mercenaries who had caused the trouble. During their stay, a representative of the Deacon Light Corporation approached Song Ran with a request. The informant explained that the corporation, a group involved in the engineering industry, was in need of help in clearing the Minotaurus dungeon. The hunters employed by the corporation were not strong enough for the task, leading them to seek assistance from the renowned hunter, Song Ran. Song Ran was taken aback by the request and sought clarification from the informant. A few days prior, their boss made a deal with Country C to acquire crystals that could be used as medicinal ingredients to suppress the awakening of a monster within a hunter's body. However, when they were on their way back from the Crystal City, the shipment was hijacked by unknown individuals. The robbers were tracked to the Minotaurus dungeon and the group decided to pursue them. During their journey, they were ambushed by a pack of demon bears. These bears were known to appear suddenly in the forest and were a constant threat to travelers. The group had no choice but to defend themselves and fought against the monstrous beasts. Despite their best efforts, the group was greatly outnumbered and it was a dangerous task. This land of exile was a treacherous place for even the most seasoned adventurers. The Deacon Light Corporation approached Siyuan, Song Ran, and Selway with a request to follow them into the Minotaurus dungeon. Meanwhile, the rest of the group was tasked with dealing with the demon bears. They arrived at the portal that would transport them to the platinum-level dungeon. This was an opportunity for Siyuan, Song Ran, and Selway to prove their skills as hunters as they journeyed through the treacherous Minotaurus dungeon. The Minotaurus dungeon was unlike any other. It had a limit of 5 individuals per entry, and its layout was divided into several branches that converged at the final boss room. The plan was to split into 2 hunter teams, but Song Ran had other ideas and decided to venture into the dungeon alone. This caused concern for the Deacon Light Corporation informant, who was worried about Song Ran's safety. However, Siyuan reassured the informant and explained that Song Ran was known for his solo antics and that he was fully capable of handling the platinum-level dungeon on his own. As Song Ran entered the Minotaurus dungeon, he found himself in a seemingly empty room. He cautiously explored the maze-like passages, taking note of the path he had taken. Suddenly, a black-robed skeleton monster appeared from behind. However, Song Ran was quick to react and defeated the monster with his sword. He felt fortunate that the monsters in the dungeon were relatively weak. He then began to run, using this opportunity to practice his evasion techniques in a safe environment. As Song Ran was running, he was suddenly enveloped in a flash of lightning, accompanied by a warning message saying that evolution mode activated. This was a result of Song Ran's entry into the dungeon, which had caused it to level up. A horde of skeleton beasts appeared, but Song Ran was ready for them. He attacked with ease, dispatching the monsters with ease. However, instead of continuing his assault, Song Ran decided to put his dodging skills to the test, avoiding the monsters' attacks with his agility and quick movements. To his delight, after successfully evading 100 attacks, he acquired the seamless dodge skill, which made his movements even smoother and faster. As Song Ran was effortlessly weaving through the obstacles, the game's system abruptly blared a warning: a hidden final boss was about to appear. Song Ran's demeanor changed in an instant as he realized he couldn't continue to toy with the skeleton period. This hidden boss could be a formidable adversary. Suddenly, a glowing symbol lit up behind Song Ran, and out of nowhere, a monster, the hidden boss, emerged from it. The sudden appearance of the boss monster was perplexing. Song Ran had encountered this monster before, but only in the Sky Tower. How could it have made its way to this Exile Land dungeon? The monster's sole mission seemed to be to fight and destroy, devoid of any emotions or consciousness. The intense battle between Song Ran and the monster unfolded. Song Ran was filled with confusion, wondering why the Sky Tower resident was now in this dungeon. He attempted to engage the monster in conversation, reminding it of their previous battle, but the monster remained single-minded in its goal to fight, kill, and destroy. The monster then unveiled its ultimate weapon, removing the blindfold that had concealed it. As the enormity of the monster's main attack dawned upon him, Song Ran sprang into action. In a swift motion, he slashed at the monster's head, or specifically its eye. After the attack, Song Ran realized that the monster could no longer communicate like it once did, but he didn't let that affect him. He remembered how close he came to death the last time he faced the monster, and was now eager to test his newfound strength by battling it once again. Without hesitation, Song Ran launched his attack. However, the monster expertly blocked his strike. Suddenly, black portals appeared above them, signaling that the monster was about to unleash its ultimate skill. But Song Ran was unfazed. A sly smile spread across his face. He believed that the monster's attack was powerless against him. A sword of light emerged from the portal, aimed straight at Song Ran. To the surprise of all, he vanished right before the sword could make contact. In a sudden maneuver, Song Ran found himself behind the monster. He declared his disdain for the monster's status as a hidden boss, reminding him of a past raid party that was decimated by one such monster. With a swift strike of his sword, Song Ran defeated the monster. After vanquishing his foe, he continued on his journey through the Minotaurus dungeon. The final chamber of the Minotaurus boss was now in view. The final boss, who had been sleeping silently for 2 hours, remained undisturbed. Despite a recent system crash that had caused the monsters to become stronger, the two of them waited for reinforcements from the Deacon Light Corporation. The interference in the system was a sign that one of the incoming hunters had undergone an awakening. Siyuan and an informant from Deacon Light Corporation finally arrived at the final boss room after battling their way through the dungeon. They were exhausted, as the monsters had suddenly become stronger than before, and they almost lost their lives. To their surprise, they found a hunter in the room who introduced himself as an adventurous hunter. The hunter warned them not to attack the boss monsters, as they were too strong. Suddenly, a portal appeared behind Siyuan and a team from Selway stepped out. Siyuan brought together all those who were present in the room, hoping for a united front against the boss. However, the hunter turned out to be deceitful, and when Siyuan let his guard down, the hunter attacked him swiftly. Despite the ambush, Siyuan managed to defend himself and defeat the attacker. He discovered that the group of people present in the room were after the rare crystals in the dungeon, and were willing to fight anyone from Deacon Light Corporation to get them. The attacker then revealed a monster gene crystal and transformed into a powerful beast. Instead of attacking Siyuan and his allies, the attacker headed towards the sleeping Minotaurus. It became clear that the attackers were unable to defeat the hunters from Deacon Light Corporation and had planned a suicide mission by awakening the final boss. In a last-ditch effort, the attacker decided to use the final boss, the Minotaurus, to fight against the powerful hunters from Deacon Light Corporation, even though it meant certain death. The attacker broke the chains binding the Minotaurus and awoke the beast, ready to sacrifice himself in the process. This was the only chance they had to defeat the hunters from Deacon Light Corporation, and they hoped to do so by utilizing the power of the Minotaurus monster. The Minotaurus began to attack, swiftly killing the attacker. Everyone present was horrified and began to weep. Soe, in a moment of bravery, asked the remaining adventurous hunters to band together and fight against the final boss. However, the hunters were hesitant, as they feared that even if they survived the battle, their failure to complete the mission would result in retaliation from their employer. The Minotaurus was on the move, with a determined look in its eyes as it prepared to attack. The hunters were trapped, unable to retreat and faced with the task of defeating the final boss to survive. But the Minotaurus was not just any ordinary monster. Its attack had a sinister twist. It had the ability to absorb the soul of the hunters it killed, gaining strength with each soul it devoured. This was the trap set by the hunter maniacs to wipe out the Deacon Light Corporation. Siyuan was confused as to why the Deacon Light Corporation was dealing with these hunters and why they were now in such danger. The final boss was heading straight for them, and it was apparent that it was not going to show mercy. All those in its path would be met with a brutal end. Just as the monster was about to reach them, Song Ran appeared, emerging from a suddenly appearing portal. Song Ran moved with lightning speed, successfully avoiding the attack from the final boss that was aimed at Selway. The hunters from the Deacon Light Corporation were stunned to see Song Ran, who had made his way through the dungeon on his own. The monster was growing increasingly angry, launching attack after attack at Song Ran, who held his ground and countered with such force that the boss's weapon was shattered. With his current level of power, the Minotaurus, the final boss, posed no threat to Song Ran. As Song Ran launched himself into action, he aimed his attacks towards the waiting monster. The creature braced himself, ready to defend against Song Ran's strikes. But his preparation proved to be in vain, as Song Ran gracefully leaped into the air, his sword at the ready. With a swift and powerful blow, Song Ran left the monster reeling, the impact of his strike so great that even his hair was split asunder. And with that final strike, Song Ran landed back on the ground, victorious. With a single, mighty strike, Song Ran emerged victorious against the final boss, leaving the hunters from the Deacon Light Corporation stunned. Despite the fear and reverence that this formidable creature had elicited from those around it, Song Ran, all on his own, had proven more than a match. His strength and skill were undeniable, leaving those in attendance in awe. After his triumph against the final boss, Song Ran greeted the hunters from the Deacon Light Corporation with a warm smile. With pride, he displayed the spoils of his victory, including a rare crystal that held the key to accessing the coveted Sky Tower, a prize sought after by many a rogue. The hunters marveled at the crystal's beauty and the significance of Song Ran's achievement. The story shifts to the Deacon Light Corporation headquarters, where Song Ran and his companions are brought after their successful mission in the Minotaurus dungeon. As they enter the room, they are greeted by a figure engrossed in a game. It was clear that this person had been eagerly awaiting their arrival. As they approached the figure, they were surprised to discover that it was none other than Andre, the chairman of the Deacon Light Corporation. He warmly greeted Song Ran, revealing that he had heard many stories about the hero's exploits. Andre then explained that he had previously worked with Sun Hao on the Prometheus project, and was now extending his gratitude to Song Ran for successfully acquiring the rare crystals for the corporation. In return, the corporation offered a comfortable stay for Song Ran and his team. Siyuan, however, was puzzled as to why Sun Hao would collaborate with someone who appeared to still be a child. Andre then explained that his physical development had ceased, a side effect of the monster genes in his body. Siyuan curiously asked about Suku, whom Song Ran had encountered in the Sea of Forgetfulness dungeon. Song Ran fondly replied that he and Suku were close friends. Following the meeting, Song Ran took a much-needed shower and freshened up. He never thought that he would be offered a place to live, even in the land of exile. With the acquisition of the rare crystal that opened the path to the Sky Tower, Song Ran was now one step closer to his goal of uncovering the truth of this world that lay at its summit. He eagerly looked forward to embarking on this new chapter of his journey. The scene then shifted to the Exile Land checkpoint, where the head of the Hunter Police was about to enter. It was revealed that Tianji had been tasked with capturing Song Ran and Siyuan, who were now residing in the land of exile. The Hunter Association had deemed them a threat to their interests, leading to a swift response. At the Deacon Light Corporation headquarters, Siyuan knocked on Song Ran's door, who then opened it. Siyuan informed Song Ran that the Hunter security team had discovered their location in the land of exile and that they would soon be targeted. Upon learning of the Hunter Association's plans to target him, Song Ran was surprised but remained composed. He couldn't understand how they had located him in the land of exile, but assumed it was through information sold on the black market where secrets can be bought and sold for profit. Despite this setback, Song Ran remained determined in his quest to uncover the truth in the Sky Tower. The next scene takes us to Song Ran visiting Andre in his quarters. He requests Andre's assistance in navigating the treacherous waters of the black market to gather information. Song Ran senses something amiss, but Andre is unwilling to guide him. Instead, Andre suggests that Song Ran become acclimated to life in the land of exile, as only then will the black market merchants be willing to sell him information. Andre approached Song Ran in his room and asked about the source of the rare crystals found in the Minotaurus labyrinth. Song Ran revealed his intention to use the crystals to reach the Sky Tower. In response, Andre offered to purchase the rare crystals and trade them for 2 other crystals that would serve the same purpose. He explained that the rare crystals were crucial in controlling the effects of the monster gene in hunters. After consideration, Song Ran accepted the offer and agreed to the exchange. The scene then shifts to the bustling city of Barrow Town, located within the land of exile. Siyun is taken aback by the city's thriving atmosphere, despite being part of the exiled territory. Song Ran explains to his companions that the city serves as the only gateway to the Sky Tower, and urges them to prioritize their mission there. The trio splits up and decides to reconvene at the city's black market, which resembles a mall, in the next 3 hours. Meanwhile, Tianji is seen making a purchase at the black market. The group must follow the rules and regulations of the black market while searching for Song Ran. But as fate would have it, they end up running into Song Ran at the market, signaling the start of their next move. The intense showdown between Song Ran and Tianji unfolds in Barrow Town. With a sudden explosion, the chaos erupts and people flee in fear. The fight between the two is fierce, and each of them unleashes their skills to gain the upper hand. Tianji unleashes a powerful attack, but Song Ran is quick on his feet and manages to dodge the blow. Song Ran retaliates with his own impressive skills, but Tianji blocks the attack with his defensive techniques. The battle rages on, with each strike capable of wreaking havoc on the surrounding area. Suddenly, a powerful voice boomed from above, demanding an explanation for the violence. As everyone looked up, they saw a figure descending from the sky, revealing that the altercation was taking place in his territory, a bustling black market. The newcomer declared that he wouldn't tolerate any fighting in his domain and demanded that it stop immediately. The man who appeared on the scene was none other than the fearsome Mr. Trader. Known for his incredible strength, Mr. Trader was feared by many. Upon his arrival, the landing site was reduced to rubble, causing even the previously fighting Song Ran and Tianji to stop in their tracks. The scene then shifts to the VIP room of a black market building, where Song Ran and Tianji were taken. Mr. Trader strode into the room, announcing his arrival to the 2 surprised individuals. Song Ran was taken aback, asking how Mr. Trader could be the ruler of this city when he was employed by the Hunter Association. Tianji then interjected, telling Song Ran that he was clueless about the power and influence of Mr. Trader. The hunter asked the duo why they were brawling in public instead of gathering information about the black market. Mr. Trader suggested they come to him for answers. Tianji declared that his intention was to take down Song Ran, but Mr. Trader forbade it. Song Ran stated that his ambition was to increase his strength and uncover the truth about the world. However, Mr. Trader warned that such a task would be challenging. He explained that while Tianji may know more than Song Ran, he himself knew even more than Tianji. Despite this, Mr. Trader declined to reveal the truth about the world to Song Ran. Song Ran queried Mr. Trader about why he refused to share the truth. Mr. Trader simply replied that the knowledge came with great danger, and could even lead to Song Ran's demise. But he added that perhaps if Song Ran grew stronger, he would be able to discover the truth on his own. Mr. Trader then asked Song Ran why he wanted to become stronger. Song Ran stated his desire was to live freely, a wish that caught Mr. Trader off guard. The hunter observed that it was a luxury that not everyone in this world could afford. Song Ran then posed a question about a strange hidden boss that had recently appeared. This boss was unlike any other and had shown up unexpectedly. Mr. Trader directed his subordinates to gather information about this anomaly, but to no avail. The information could not be found. Mr. Trader admitted that he was unaware of the strange hidden boss, but suggested that if Song Ran wanted to increase his strength, he could do so by climbing the Sky Tower. Song Ran felt a sense of confusion. On one hand, Mr. Trader was not providing any information, yet on the other, he was encouraging Song Ran to pursue his goal. Initially, Song Ran had planned to ascend the Sky Tower, but his plans had since changed. Instead, he requested Mr. Trader's assistance in selling his crystal resources on the black market, seeking to conduct the transactions directly. To this, Mr. Trader agreed, with the condition of receiving a 5% cut of the profits. After their conversation, Song Ran promptly departed the room. However, before he did, he issued a warning to Tianji, declaring that he would not freely disclose what he knew unless Tianji forced the issue. In response to Song Ran's threat, Tianji simply referred to him as a clever boy. Mr. Trader then revealed the true intention of Tianji's visit to the city. He had come with the intention of killing Song Ran, but it was all just a ruse. However, what Tianji was actually after was information about the Mercury Cup. Mr. Trader wouldn't share any information with him as he was not aligned with the Hunter Association. Without further ado, Tianji simply agreed and remarked the title of World Observer with the greatest fighting strength to Mr. Trader. As Song Ran made his way through the black market building, he couldn't help but overhear the buzz about a deadly battle being fought by individuals from the Deacon Light Corporation. Intrigued, he approached a group of people and asked what was happening. To his surprise, he learned that the fighter was none other than his friend, Siyuan, locked in combat with the management's son. Upon hearing this news, Song Ran's expression softened into a look of concern. The scene then shifts to Mr. Trader's room, where he receives unsettling news about the appearance of the hidden boss monster, as previously discussed with Song Ran. The information was from a group of hunters who were on a mission to clear a dungeon, but encountered a hidden boss that was much stronger than the level of the dungeon they were in. Mr. Trader then received disturbing news about the appearance of the hidden boss monster. The information came from a team of hunters who had gone on a mission to clear a dungeon but encountered an abnormally powerful hidden boss. Despite the difficulty, the team was comprised of skilled hunters and were able to escape with casualties, but only after sacrificing 2 of their own. Based on the monster's skills and abilities, it was deduced that the hidden boss most likely originated from the Sky Tower. At the headquarters of the Mercury Cup, a hunter known as Azura, the Guardian of Blood, is bound to his bed in a fit of rage. Azura is the final boss at level 50 of the Sky Tower, but it is unclear what events have led to his current state, and what truths are being concealed. The scene shifts to a man administering drugs to the bound and locked Sky Tower level 50 boss, Azura. The Guardian of Blood seemed to be tossing and turning, but the man told him to stay still as the research would take a long time. However, Azura cut him off and stated that he didn't want to fight any harder. As it turned out, the man was none other than the one who had rescued Song Ran from the clutches of the Hunter Association. The man introduced himself as a member of the prestigious Mercury Cup group. Despite not knowing their purpose, it was clear that they were working tirelessly to create a cure for the monster gene afflicting hunters. However, their efforts were hampered by the lack of a crucial ingredient, a rare crystal source. Nevertheless, the man and his partner were determined to find a solution, as they believed that the future of humanity was at stake. The scene shifted to a life-or-death duel, where Siyuan was locked in combat with his opponent. As he leapt into the air, ready to strike, it became clear that the battle was nearing its conclusion. Siyuan was fighting against the wealthy son of the Zhao Corporation, both vying for the affections of Selway. Song Ran, who was observing the fight, wore a nonchalant expression as he found it strange to hear others marvel at Selway's beauty. After a grueling battle, marked by intense exchanges of blows, Siyuan emerged victorious against his opponent, Zhao Sifang. As per the rules of a fight to the death, Siyuan was poised to deliver the final blow. However, before he could act, he was stopped by an unforeseen intervener. It was then revealed that the voice calling out to Siyuan belonged to none other than Song Ran, who implored him to spare Zhao Sifang's life. Selway joined in the appeal, and the 3 of them left the arena together, heading back towards the headquarters of the Deacon Light Corporation. Selway and Song Ran were aware of the potential consequences if Siyuan were to take the life of one of the exiled children of the Zhao Corporation, especially over something as trivial as a woman. As they tried to leave, they were confronted by the members of the Zhao Corporation, who had been humbled and defeated by Siyuan earlier. Song Ran was ready to engage the members of the Zhao Corporation, but Selway stopped him, insisting that she handle the situation herself. Selway requested that Zhao Sifang accept defeat gracefully after his defeat at the hands of Siyuan. However, it was soon revealed that it was actually Thoth, Sifang's colleague, who was forcing them to confront Selway. The loss to Siyuan left the members of the Zhao Corporation feeling ashamed. They may have been willing to forgive Selway, but not Song Ran or Siyuan. Selway then revealed her identity by showing her ID card, causing the individuals to be shocked and frightened. One of them asked about the card, to which the other responded that it was something that could mean their death. Upon realizing who Selway truly was, they abandoned their plans to confront Song Ran and Siyuan. 3 days after their encounter with the Zhao family, an informant from Deacon Light Corporation informed Song Ran of a rare crystal being sold on the black market. The following day, Song Ran set out to the transaction site with Siyuan by his side, as it was too risky to go alone. Upon arriving, Siyuan asked if it was indeed true that someone was there to give away the crystal. Siyuan questioned Song Ran about why he was selling the rare crystal that was intended to be used to reach the Sky Tower. Song Ran revealed that he was not actually selling the crystal, but instead, he was setting a trap to uncover information about the thieves who had attempted to steal the crystal from the Minotaurus dungeon. Song Ran was curious about the mysterious sender when suddenly, Si Fang appeared before him. Si Fang was the same person who Siyuan fought against in the brutal battle arena held at the notorious Black Market building the previous day. Upon seeing Si Fang, Song Ran and Siyuan immediately moved in to apprehend him. However, Si Fang was caught off guard and an intense skirmish broke out between the three of them. Si Fang unleashed his formidable ability, Psychic Impact, causing a massive explosion. The battle was swiftly concluded with Si Fang being overpowered by Song Ran and Siyuan. Song Ran warned Siyuan to be vigilant as the situation might not be as simple as it seemed. Suddenly, a shadow appeared on the scene and Siyuan feared that Si Fang had reinforcements. However, the masked figure was actually there to eliminate Si Fang to prevent any sensitive information from being leaked. Song Ran thwarted the attempt and saved the day. Song Ran's sharp instincts allowed him to immediately decipher the intentions of the masked individual. Despite agreeing to meet individually, Song Ran chose a secluded location for the transaction, suspecting that the opposing party would not send a single weak individual to steal the valuable step crystal. He instructed Siyuan to attack the masked man, who swiftly sprang into action. The two of them engaged in a fierce confrontation, exchanging blows. Siyuan's battle with the masked assassin persisted. Song Ran announced that he would uncover the man's true identity. The assassin attempted to kick Siyuan, but he skillfully dodged the attack. The assassin then locked eyes with Song Ran before quickly retreating from the scene. Siyuan and Song Ran made no effort to pursue him, seemingly content with capturing Si Fang. The focus shifts to the main headquarters of the Deacon Light Corporation, where Si Fang is being interrogated after being captured during his transaction with Song Ran. Despite repeated questions, Si Fang refused to reveal the identity of the person who sent him, claiming that he had someone to protect. Song Ran revealed that he had a good idea of the mastermind behind Si Fang, but the latter remained silent. After leaving Si Fang in the hands of the Deacon Light Corporation, Song Ran revealed that he was stepping away. Si Fang expressed his desire to meet with Selway, a person he admired greatly. It was soon revealed that Selway and Si Fang were old friends, with Selway serving as the leader during their battles. As the young miss of the Stellar Rain Corporation, she was destined to take the reins of the company's management in the future. Si Fang inquired about Selway's choice to become a freelance hunter instead of inheriting the leadership of the Stellar Rain Corporation. Selway explained that she didn't want to bear the responsibility of the conflicts that come with running a company. She revealed that it was the Stellar Rain Corporation she left behind 7 years ago that had sent the masked man to retrieve the rare crystals. As Song Ran and Siyuan stepped out of the interrogation room, they allowed Selway and Si Fang to be alone, hoping they could reveal any concealed truths in private. Song Ran trusted that Selway would be able to resolve the situation and had his own suspicions about who was behind the recent events. Upon hearing the news, Siyuan was filled with intense curiosity, but Song Ran chose to keep the information to himself, opting to wait for the perfect moment to reveal it. Siyuan was frustrated by Song Ran's decision to tease him with his unanswered questions. Eventually, the identity of the masked man who had visited them the day before was revealed to be none other than Wan Feng, the infamous traitor hunter. This was Song Ran's theory and the reason for his reluctance to share with Siyuan. Song Ran was perplexed as to why the killer chose not to eliminate the three of them, but instead took the crystal despite being much stronger. He came to the conclusion that Wan Feng was part of the Mercury Cup and that the group had spared their lives, likely for their own purposes. Although the true motivations behind their actions were unknown to Song Ran, he knew that everyone had their reasons. However, these questions would remain unanswered if Song Ran simply pondered them, and it was time for him to take action and uncover the truth. The scene shifted to Selway, who was shocked to learn of the company's desire to acquire rare crystals. She had encountered thieves from the Stellar Rain Corporation since her arrival in the Land of Exile, despite the crystals having no connection to the company. Perhaps there was a nefarious individual at the helm. Si Fang even mentioned that the reason for his mission was because his father was being held captive by the company officials. In response, Selway extended an invitation for them to visit the Stellar Rain Corporation and asked Sifang to use his current fighting force to assist. The scene then shifted to the headquarters of the Stellar Rain Corporation, where we see Caldero, the head of the corporation, in the company of the chairman of the Mercury Cup. They were seen apprehending Mr. Zhao, the father of Sifang. Caldero and Mr. Zhao continued to argue over the state of the company until Mr. Bai stepped in to put an end to the feud. He declared that the best course of action for Mr. Zhao would be to cooperate with the Mercury Cup, as their ultimate goal was to aid humanity. As Mr. Bai spoke, a masked hunter assassin suddenly entered the room. This was the same person who had been present during the transaction with Song Ran the previous day, and as Song Ran had suspected, it was Wan Feng. Wan Feng shared the details of the situation at hand and revealed that the individuals seeking to sell the crystal were Song Ran and Siyuan. Mr. Bai had instructed his members not to harm Song Ran, causing Wan Feng to depart. It was possible that information about the Mercury Cup had been leaked and was now known to Song Ran, especially since Sifang had been taken by Song Ran. Mr. Zhao expressed his belief that his son would not reveal any confidential information, but Mr. Bai was more concerned about Song Ran potentially uncovering their involvement. Despite Mr. Zhao's plea for mercy and protection for his son, Mr. Bai declared that they would not forgive the mistake made by his son and that the Mercury Cup would support Song Ran in capturing him. Mr. Bai then executed Mr. Zhao, as he had opposed their plan to collaborate. He even instructed Wan Feng to bring Mr. Zhao's head to him. This is the end of Part 8. The next day, at the Deacon Light Corporation headquarters, Siyuan was taken aback to see that Selway had taken Sifang with her in an attempt to escape. However, Andre pointed out that their escape was not the main issue at hand, but rather the plan they had in mind and the ramifications that would follow. Mr. Bai warned Caldero to be prepared as the real conflict was about to begin. The scene then shifts to Sifang and him arriving at the Zhao Corporation. To their surprise, they find the employees of Mr. Zhao in a state of disarray and they come face to face with Mr. Zhao's head, which had been delivered there after he was executed by the Mercury Cup the day before. Sifang was overcome with emotions upon seeing his father's brutal death. The loyal hunters under Mr. Zhao's command turned to Sifang, begging him to take control and lead them in avenging their fallen leader. Sifang, determined to honor his father's memory, donned his father's battle uniform and prepared to lead the charge. Selway then approached Caldero in search of information regarding the Stellar Rain Corporation's dealings with a rare crystal resource. However, she was left unsatisfied with Caldero's response. A rogue hunter appeared in Caldero's chamber, no longer having faith in Caldero's altered direction for the company. Selway resolutely declared that she would not seize control of the Stellar Rain Corporation at present, but rather, put an end to it immediately. The conflict begins. As monsters approach, the Stellar Rain Corporation has a vast arsenal to defend against them, but as they have many hunters in their employ, their weapons have fallen into disuse. This is when they are brought back into action. Sifang, seeing that Selway had given the signal for the war to begin, prepares himself and his troops for the fight. The two of them serve as the leaders of the Stellar Rain Corporation until the outcome of this battle is decided. Despite the presence of a barrier wall surrounding the building, the attack commences. The headquarters of the Deacon Light Corporation was abuzz with excitement as Andre received news that the battle had begun. Song Ran and Siyuan, both hunters, received notifications on their hunter system and were taken aback upon learning that Selway was the heir to the Stellar Rain Corporation. Siyuan was particularly shocked by this revelation. Song Ran approached Andre, eager to know which side he was on in the escalating war. However, Andre appeared to be torn, as he had close ties to both sides. The conflict raged on, with the helicopter from the Zhao Corporation launching relentless attacks against the Stellar Rain Corporation. Meanwhile, the Barrow Tower stood tall as crowds of residents gathered at its entrance, eager to enter the bustling black market inside. However, with the war underway, only selected individuals were allowed in. Song Ran appeared on the scene, determined to gain access. Despite the uncertain circumstances, Song Ran had his doubts about being allowed in. To his surprise, the building's security system verified his identity with a quick scan of his fingerprints. It was possible that Mr. Trader had a hand in granting Song Ran access to the black market. Song Ran made his way there with a specific purpose to reach the Sky Tower. It was the only way for him to reach it in the land of exile. Siyuan, on the other hand, had different plans. He decided to join forces with Selway and Sifang. As he made his way, memories of his conversation with Andre flooded his mind. They had uncovered the truth. that the Mercury Cup was behind the ongoing war. Armed with this knowledge, Siyun decided to join the fight in search of Wan Feng, while Song Ran set his sights on the Sky Tower. Mercury Cup was well aware of Song Ran's awakening, and they intended to eliminate the source of his newfound strength, the Sky Tower. Determined to grow stronger and gather more information, Song Ran made his way there. With the war raging, he saw the need to increase his power to face the formidable forces of Mercury Cup. In short, Song Ran finally reached the 200th level of the Sky Tower, the destination he had been striving for. He was convinced that the entity that gifted him with the Blade of Evolution was located there. Excited to uncover the secrets he had been seeking for so long, Song Ran was eager to explore and discover all the answers he sought. Suddenly, the monster let out a laugh, declaring its surprise at Song Ran's arrival. To Song Ran's shock, the monster referred to him as its son. It was a surprising turn of events that the final boss who had decimated Song Ran's party in the beginning of the manhwa was none other than his own father. The truth behind the monster's identity was finally revealed. The final war had begun, and Song Ran, after reaching the top of the Sky Tower, was faced with the startling realization that the monster he hated so much was actually his own father. Song Ran was stunned as he gazed upon the monstrous figure before him, unable to reconcile the fact that this beast was his father. The monster spoke, revealing that he was aware of the extensive lengths Song Ran had gone to in search of him, despite not believing it to be anything more than a myth. But now, as the monster stood before him as an embodiment of evil, Song Ran knew that the only way to handle such a creature was through force. As Song Ran faced off against the monster, he felt a deep-seated hatred for the beast. He believed that by defeating it, he would finally obtain the answers to the questions that had plagued him. The battle commenced, with both parties fiercely exchanging blows. The monster taunted Song Ran, recognizing that while he may have grown stronger, he was still no match for the monster's power. Despite the insults thrown his way, Song Ran remained stoic, simply covering his mouth as the monster belittled him, calling him a worthless son who was ignorant of the ways of the world. Song Ran was no match for the monster's deadly attack. Its strength was unparalleled, easily breaking Song Ran's sword into pieces. Despite everything he had faced before, Song Ran never expected to fall so easily. The monster closed in, swiftly moving behind him and readying another attack. This time, Song Ran was hit with full force, leaving him seriously injured and unconscious. The monster's display of power was truly terrifying. Despite his best efforts, Song Ran struggled to rise to his feet. He attempted to use his recovery skills, but in his weakened state, he couldn't maintain them. Helpless, Song Ran sat, unable to move. He wondered why things had to be this way between them, despite their once happy family relationship. The monster simply responded, coldly stating that this was the reality of the world where only the strongest could survive and thrive. Song Ran stumbled and fell to the ground, bleeding from wounds inflicted by the monster's attack. He was overcome with memories of his childhood with his loving parents. As he lay there, he came to the realization that the research was shrouded in darkness, and the monster gene factor was actually a virus that was carried by humans themselves. Flashbacks of the past rushed through his mind, including the heartbreaking moment when his father, who had transformed into a monster, had killed his own mother. With this newfound understanding, Song Ran realized that the monster who had killed his mother was none other than his own father. Tears streamed down his face as he remembered the warmth and love of the woman who had been the best mother in the world to him. The monster approached Song Ran and posed the question if Song Ran wants to change this world. Song Ran reflected on how much he used to yearn for his father, but now his father had transformed into a monster who had taken his life. As Song Ran felt himself losing consciousness and his healing powers slipping away, the monster offered him an invitation to join forces and create a new world for humans. Just then, a girl appeared, calling the monster father. Song Ran was caught off guard by her presence and the monster's connection to her. The girl who stood before Song Ran and the monster was Doris, Song Ran's mentor from the Sky Tower. The monster queried her about the current situation. Doris reported that the battle was raging across various companies in the Salty Land, a result of the machinations of Mr. Bai and the Mercury Cup. She ominously declared that this very spot would soon become the starting point for the new world. Doris handed her father the purified monster gene factor, which held the potential to grant the monster the greatest strength among all monsters and render the hunters powerless against him. He then presented Song Ran with a choice. The monster offered him the gene and invited him to join forces, even offering to merge with him and grant him a higher level of power than he had previously possessed. Just as Song Ran was considering the monster's offer, a man appeared on the scene. He greeted the monster with a warm and calls him as his brother Song. The man's arrival was unexpected, and it was clear that he and the monster had a history together. The man was none other than Mr. Trader, an old friend of Song Ran's father. However, Mr. Trader made it clear that the monster before them was not his friend, but rather a monster that had taken over his friend's body. He revealed that the monster's plan was to turn Song Ran into a monster like himself, but Mr. Trader and Song had foreseen this outcome and prepared accordingly. We were then transported back in time to a conversation between Mr. Trader and Song Ran's father, Mr. Song. In it, Mr. Song confided in Mr. Trader that the monster was starting to take over his body. The weight of this revelation hung heavy in the air as the scene shifted back to the present. Mr. Trader expressed concern about the inevitable takeover of Song Ran's body by the monster, and the destruction it would bring to the world. He asked about the consequences of the monster gene on humanity, and mentioned the tragic incident where Mr. Song killed his own wife, while he still had control over his body. Mr. Trader insisted that they must report to the Hunter Association to put a stop to the plan of creating monster-powered humans. Mr. Song acknowledged the urgency of the situation, knowing that he could lose control of his body at any moment. He sadly realized that he could no longer return home. With a heavy heart, the two set out to take action and prevent the monster gene from wreaking havoc on the world. Mr. Trader was given a special crystal by his friend Mr. Song, who was afraid that the monster within him would completely take over. Mr. Song warned that the monster would see Song Ran as his own son and therefore target him. The crystal was a resurrection crystal, but unlike any other. In the event that the monster inside of Mr. Song overtook him and turned Song Ran into a monster, Mr. Trader was instructed to give him the crystal, so that he wouldn't suffer the same fate as his father. In conclusion, Mr. Trader agreed to the task and said farewell to Mr. Song, who was forced to leave without a final goodbye to his son out of fear that the monster inside of him would take over and harm Song Ran. The scene then shifts back to the Sky Tower where Mr. Trader is filled with rage upon seeing the damage inflicted on Song Ran by the monster. Mr. Trader was furious with the monster for hurting Song Ran, but the monster explained that Mr. Trader had come to prevent Song Ran from becoming a monster and serving as his right-hand man. The monster instructed Doris to keep a watchful eye on Mr. Bai and others to ensure their plan wasn't derailed. The monster warned that he wouldn't forgive anyone who hindered his plans to change the world. Mr. Trader responded with disappointment, remarking that the monster's vision for the world was misguided and was destined for failure. With the determination to protect humanity, Mr. Trader stood his ground against the monster in the Sky Tower. The two were preparing for a fierce battle, a showdown between the human race and the monster race. Despite the monster's attack, Mr. Trader was able to dodge and counter with his own skills. Fueled by his words, Mr. Trader was ready to strike and end the monster's reign of terror, declaring his intention to take its life. The monster was visibly irritated by Mr. Trader's boldness, as the stage was set for a climactic showdown. The monster was hit with a powerful strike from Mr. Trader, but to everyone's surprise, the monster was able to survive the blow and quickly counterattack. With incredible speed, the monster unleashed a barrage of attacks on Mr. Trader, leaving him badly injured. Despite the intense assault, the monster was not finished. He unleashed another attack, striking Mr. Trader with a deadly blow that penetrated his body. The attack left Mr. Trader reeling, as the monster showed no mercy. The monster's immense power was intimidating, and Mr. Trader was no match for him. The monster boasted that his strength far surpassed that of the human race. However, what surprised the monster was that someone was healing Mr. Trader with advanced healing skills. Mr. Trader informs Song Ran that his mission has come to an end, and it's now up to the other to continue. It turns out that Mr. Trader has acquired a healing ability from Song Ran, who at this moment stands before him with white hair. The monster, sensing Song Ran's weakened state, charges towards him with the intention of killing him. However, to everyone's surprise, Song Ran rises from his weakened state with newfound strength and agility. Despite the monster's swift attack, Song Ran gracefully evades the blow and prepares himself for what's to come. At that moment, Song Ran's speed was greatly amplified, catching the monster off guard. The monster was taken aback as it realized that Song Ran was now much stronger and his current strength exceeded that of any human. With a determined gaze, Song Ran confronts the monster and declares that he is no longer its son and that he deserves no such title. Song Ran then leaps towards the monster and lands right in front of it, ready for what was to come. With ferocity, Song Ran attacks the monster with his bare hands, unleashing a barrage of powerful strikes. Despite being weaponless, Song Ran's attacks proved to be effective against the monster. However, In the heat of the moment, Song Ran realizes that he may have used too much strength and apologizes to the monster for his actions. This only serves to infuriate the monster further, as it feels humiliated by Song Ran's apology. The monster declares that anyone who stands in its way must be destroyed and activates its strongest form, transforming into a towering giant. With its newfound power, the monster prepares to wreak havoc. The monster launches a devastating attack against Song Ran with its massive hand, but to its surprise, Song Ran deftly deflects the blow with his sword. With incredible skill and precision, Song Ran even manages to sever the monster's giant hand. The monster is taken aback by Song Ran's strength, and wonders how it is possible for him to have grown so powerful, especially considering how weak he once was. The monster launches another relentless attack against Song Ran, declaring that this was his moment of triumph. The monster taunts Song Ran, telling him to go to hell as it unleashes its mightiest blow. The giant fist is so powerful that the surrounding area is decimated by the sheer force of its impact. The monster is filled with joy, confident in its victory. However, to its surprise, a glowing figure suddenly emerges from the aftermath, revealing that Song Ran is still standing and unharmed. The monster was stunned by Song Ran's display of strength, unable to comprehend how a human could possibly possess such power. Mr. Trader, who had been watching the events unfold, declares that it was time to bring an end to this. He warns the monster to flee while it still had the chance, but he was certain that it was already too late. The monster becomes livid at Mr. Trader's taunts and declares that he will kill him after he's finished with Song Ran. In a flash, Song Ran charges towards the monster, swiftly slicing off one of its arms. This is Song Ran's awakening mode, known as the tyrannical mode. He appears to soar towards the monster, landing effortlessly in front of its head. The monster is flabbergasted at Song Ran's newfound strength, and wonders how it could be possible. With his sword at the ready, Song Ran prepares to strike. In one swift motion, he slices through the monster's body, leaving it stunned and unable to defend itself. The monster lets out a blood-curdling scream as it realizes it has failed. Despite being in its strongest form, it falls victim to Song Ran's powerful attack. In no time at all, Song Ran has defeated the monster in its godly state. With a swift and powerful strike, Song Ran emerged victorious against the monstrous being. The monster, unable to withstand the force of Song Ran's attack, vanished into thin air, admitting defeat and acknowledging Song Ran's unparalleled strength. Mr. Trader, witnessing the epic battle, approached Song Ran and asked what his plans were now that the monster had been defeated. Song Ran confidently declared his intention to venture out into the world and take on any remaining enemies on his own, determined to defeat them all. As the earth was thrown into turmoil, a massive dungeon portal appeared, bringing with it countless monsters that wreaked havoc in the land of exile. The buildings were crumbling, the hunters were exhausted, and the world was in utter chaos. Amidst the destruction, a figure emerged: Song Ran. This was his true calling, his mission to save the earth and humanity. With a determined look on his face, Song Ran declared this to be his true journey. And this is the end of the Blade of Evolution.